All right. We are live on this beautiful September 8th day. I am one of your hosts of the XB2 podcast, Randall Thor 19, the man with the million. And with me, finally back from fighting off COVID, we have Jez Corden of Windows Central, the managing editor. He is here. What's up, buddy?
Oh man, dude, I do not recommend getting COVID, man.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it. Some people have said, it's not that bad and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know if this is even public, so I won't say who it was. But a good friend of ours was actually in hospital with COVID recently, right?
Mm-hmm.
I won't say who it is because I don't know if he wants it to be public. But someone in the community was in hospital with COVID, and then I got COVID, and I was kind of like, shit, like I'm not the healthiest guy in the world. No secret that I like my burgers and
your beans. Don't forget your beans.
And my beans, and my alcohol and stuff like that. I'm not the picture of health. So I was like a little bit worried, right? But I fought it off, man. Four days in and out, so not bad, But positive on the Thursday and negative on the Tuesday, but. That Friday, man, I was just like, man, I'm just.
Dude, you jumped in the call
Monday.
with me, right? No, on Friday, because we were gonna do the show on Friday, and you jumped in the call.
We're gonna do Friday.
And what did I say to you when you started talking?
Dude, I can't even remember, to be honest.
I literally, I started laughing. Remember, I started laughing, and you were like, "What are you?"
Yeah, okay,
you were like, "What are you laughing at?" Like, and I'm like, "Bro, we can't do the show with you sounding like this right now."
It was the worst because I had first it was my throat, man. Like it felt like I'd been swallowing razor blades. It hurt my throat so bad, and I was testing negative at that point. I was kind of like, "Oh well, maybe it's just like tonsillitis or." Something. I used to get tonsillitis a lot as a little kid. And it felt like that. So I thought maybe it's not COVID. And then like I just started feeling so tired. And I was like, okay, this probably is COVID. And then I tested positive. And then on the Monday, we were going to do the podcast again on the Monday with the guests. And shout out to everyone who joined in on the guest show, and helped out and all that stuff. And also you guys who showed up to watch. But I was just so tired, man. I was sleeping like 14 hours a day. I ain't slept that much since I was a kid, man, or a teenager or something. And it's really funny because I got this like fitness ring thing, like Zura ring, and it gives me like these sleep reports, and it was giving me these reports like, oh wow, you're sleeping way better than usual right now. And I was like, oh yeah, of course I am, because I'm dying, man. But nah, I feel fine now. Like I ain't got the brain fog or anything like that. I feel like it has changed my body, man. Like I feel like I've lost a lot of physical fitness. Like we're going into Gamescom and stuff. And I can usually chart my physical fitness by Gamescom because some years I go to Gamescom and I haven't been exercising and I walk around and I'll be knackered, I'll be sweating, I'll be tired and stuff like that. But this year going to Gamescom, I was fine. I was doing really well because I've been going hiking with my girlfriend and I worked to improve my fitness for LA. The Xbox event and stuff like that, and I kept my fitness up. So when I went to Gamescom, I was doing really well, and I was walking fine. But now I can't even get up the stairs without getting out of breath, man. It is screwed up my body. So yeah, I don't recommend it. Don't get it if you can avoid it. But yeah, thanks Gamescom for COVID. Lovely. But I did get a lot of rest in, and I got to have a real break from work. So that's silver lining, eh?
Yeah.
But we're back. We are back, and we got a lot to talk about this week.
We are back. But I figure we let the people know, because in 2 weeks you're not going to be on the show. You might as well let the people know now. You're taking your girlfriend out on spending some quality time with the girlfriend, essentially.
Yes, indeed. Well, we're going to Iceland.
Ooh,
so we're going to Iceland.
Look at that, Iceland.
For a couple of weeks.
That's nice.
I've never been on this kind of foreign vacation before. Usually when we go on vacation, it's like local. We go somewhere in Germany or somewhere in Britain. But it's the first time I'm going on vacation outside the country ever, actually. Yeah, I've never been on a foreign vacation before, so that's going to be interesting. Hopefully, I won't get COVID again while traveling. But yeah, we're going to Iceland, and I'll be taking lots of nice pictures and sending them through on
Yeah.
the Twitters and on
Which
Patreon and
means
stuff.
we're
But
obviously still going to be in Xbox 2 on that 22nd in 2 weeks. It's just that I'm probably going to have somebody else join me, whether it be Gaz or Colt or both Gaz and Colt or Cognito or somebody. But we'll be having a show then. Doesn't matter that Jez is on vacation with the girls. We're definitely Xbox 2 is going to roll on. So just figured we'd let people know about that. And I guess we were talking about this pre-show, Jez, about the wonderful people at Patreon who support the show. I think you said you put up a poll about if they wanted an Ultimate and an Xbox 2 or two Xbox 2 plus ones with guests.
yeah, I put up a poll about like the future of the Patreon and what kind of shows and content people want to see out of Patreon. And one of the things I asked was, do you guys want to see more guest shows or more, or basically stay the way things are? And most people voted either I'm cool with either, or we'd like 2 XB2 plus ones per month, which is with the guest show. So we are going to explore doing more guest shows and that kind of stuff. So you guys need to let us know who you want us to chat with and stuff like that. Obviously, we'll get some of the regulars in, like Jeff Grubb and Paris and Gaz and stuff like that. But also like I think it's kind of good to go outside of our bubble and talk to people further afield out of the Xbox community and get other perspective and stuff like that. So we'll do some of that as well. And maybe we can get some devs on and talk to some devs. Maybe we can get Phil Spencer on, Supernova's in chat. So we should get Phil Spencer. But yeah, maybe we can get Phil on. But we always thought the dream was to get Phil on for the big 300 episodes.
Well, I mean, we're getting close.
We are getting close.
We're 282.
Thinking about that.
18 more to go until 300. Something tells me that's not going to happen. That 18 episodes would be like. What would 18 episodes? That's what? That's four months. That would be
5 months from now.
October, November, December. That'd be in January. They're on vacation in January, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, would you guys like to see us get Phil on?
I mean, it'd be cool.
Let us know in the chat.
Whatever. I mean, who's gonna say no to that? Like, no, actually, no. Don't do that. Don't have Phil on because. I mean, we could ask him. We could ask him better questions than the MB. I get it. Like, okay, Starfield's out, right? It's Xbox's big exclusive. You have literally everybody in the video game industry talking about this game, whether it's good stuff or whether it's bad stuff. Everybody has to inject their opinions and their hot takes, and they got to put Starfield into articles for the SEO, right? Oh, Baldur's Gate 3 is amazing, and this is why Starfield sucks, right? They make an article combining both. Right, so they're like, okay, we need to talk about this. People want it. So they go on NBC, and what do you know? You get the dumbest questions from these anchors, right? Because it's all mainstream stuff. Phil, how come it's not on PlayStation, Phil? Todd, why doesn't it run on my PC, Todd? Right? You get like these dumbasses asking these stupid questions, and it's like
You're not a fan of CNBC?
No, it wasn't even CNBC. It was like regular NBC. But the thing is, I get why they do it.
What's the difference?
One's kind of just like I don't know. I honestly don't know what like the difference is. But either way, I sit there and he's like, God, like we could ask so much better questions than that. Right, but I get why they do it. I get why, like, okay, PR. We want to like get the furthest reach and reach the normies, as Jez would say. So you do these interviews with these big outlets, and you have these anchors probably don't know a damn thing about video games, and you just get these lame ass questions. And I just sit there and I'm just like, oh my God, really? Is this?
Yeah, when they could be asking Todd why he didn't put fishing in Starfield.
Yeah, exactly. Why is there no fish?
Good question,
right? But no. The question we have to ask is, how come it's not on PlayStation 5, Phil? Like,
what's that voice?
I don't know. I'm just doing a different voice. That's my news anchor voice.
That's Richard. Sounded a bit like
it's
Richard
just
Nixon.
funny the way Todd, when he's like,
That sounded like Richard Nixon talking.
I don't
to
know.
Todd Howard.
It's just funny because Todd basically
I'm not a cro-
Todd basically told the dude when he asked about his PC, it's like basically told him to get a better PC. He's like, upgrade your PC, bitch.
Upgrade your PC.
Upgrade your PC. Yeah. And then you just see
that's
they ask, so is Game Pass sustainable? Oh, or how do you know if people are gonna play it? Oh, like, oh my god, or what are we doing? I don't know. I gotta feel like Phil and Todd are just sitting there rolling their eyes, and like PR's like, dude, really book this meeting, right? You know what I mean? Like, unbelievable.
Todd had this such a cheeky smile on his face when he was saying maybe you should upgrade your PC. I love the guy, man. It cracks me up. But that's what's going to happen though when you get a big ass game that sort of cracks through that zeitgeist. I was on the phone to my mom the other day. I was on the phone to my mom and I was like just catching up and stuff, and my mom was telling me that she'd seen Starfield on the news, on BBC News on the TV.
Oh, really?
So like when even my mom is aware of something, you know it's cracked through that zeitgeist, right? Or created a zeitgeist, whatever.
But hold on. Starfield's niche now, okay? Starfield's niche. Bethesda games, they only make niche products. I mean, there's a lot there to talk about. We're kind of like, we'll get all into it. Thank you guys so much for being here. We have a lot to talk about in this episode. Some of the things maybe we talked about last week might be talked about again because Jez is here to actually give his opinion. I want to thank Cognito and Gaz and Addict and Paris and Hargeet and who else was on? Fonzarelli for coming on Monday.
Yeah.
And basically letting us do Xbox 2 because you were sick. So thank you to them. Make sure you guys check out that episode. I thought it was a really good one. But now we're just back. It's me and Jez. So if you guys don't like us, then I guess there's the door. But anyways, yeah, hit the like button and make sure you subscribe. We're almost at 100K, Jez. I passed 99,000. So we're less than
99,000.
We're less than 900 away. Less than 900 away from 100K, and a big plaque from YouTube, which would be absolutely nice to get. But yeah, we're close. So I know what that means. We're also close to possibly and definitively doing at some point an Xbox 2 on camera. So
an Xbox 2 on camera.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if we'll always do it, but we'll see. I definitely at least do one to see how people think.
Special.
Maybe I don't know. Either way, they'll definitely. So yeah, get us to 100, and we'll have that happen.
Yeah, I need to have a shave before we do that.
Oh, right. But yeah, so obviously we are basically powered by the people at Patreon, the wonderful people at patreon.com/XB2. Jez, we have some shout outs, right?
Yes, we do. So for everyone who follows us on Patreon, thank you so much. Full tickers going across the screen, but we've also got the shout outs here. And those shout outs go to Peter B, Saucy Mods, James Wazo, The Grandest a Bit, Chris Panisse, Deverka, Hey Blinkin, Battered Haddock, Army Dude 52C, Ryan Keipel, Foreign Object, Mythic Marty, Morant Donkey 99, Macazilla, Randolph 419, Stillis, Eric Gregory, Elijah Vasquez, James Moore, Halo is a franchise player, Katriox, Bright 201, Justin Duell, Frank Marino, P. Bro King, Ace Tim Madison, Untidy Tim, Grizzly Mofo OG, Governor Grimm, DZ Huffin, Wagaman, Achievement, The Scarecrow 121, Darren Torpy, Professor JJJ, Butterball 8, Ghostface Killer, and Wolfgang KPZ. Thanks, guys, for supporting the channel. And I just want to give a little shout out to Wagaman, who I believe has also succumbed to the COVIDs recently.
Yeah,
he get well soon, Wagaman.
He sent a super chat too. He said, "Glad you're better. Dealing with the vid right now. I'm 64 hours into Starfield. Loving Xbox at all. The game expos. Did you see this continuing next year? 100K soon. Actually, yeah, I do see this continuing next year. I think I see this continuing for the foreseeable future. Actually."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they got the games now. Like before, it was kind of like, we don't really got the games, or the games aren't that good. So we only need to do one show where we have like the beat, right? That's what they kind of call it, the beat. Like we have E3, but now, they dropped how many games this year? They dropped let's see, Hi-Fi Rush. They dropped Minecraft Legends. They dropped Redfall. I mean, they dropped Age of Empires 4 on console, Age of Empires 2 on console. I mean, they dropped GoldenEye. I mean, I guess maybe you consider that as counting, or you don't. I mean, you probably would if you're Special Nick because you don't play anything else on Xbox, but whatever. You dropped Starfield. Forza Motorsport is coming out in a month, like in the beginning of October. So, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of games this year. Next year, we already know 3 with Avowed and Hellblade and Towerborn. They say there's more. So I would imagine they're going to have, they're going to have obviously an E3 showcase. They'll probably go to Gamescom again, probably go to Tokyo Game Show. The only real kind of question mark is if they do a developer direct again. Which, I
think they will.
I think they will, because there's still stuff to talk about with Hellblade. With Towerborn, I could easily see them doing another developer direct because of how well developer direct was received by everybody. Everybody really seemed to like it. I could easily see them doing another developer direct the beginning of next year, right? Show off some Towerborn, maybe give a release date. Show off some Avowed, some of the changes that are maybe going on there, because there are some talk about maybe like the art changing. Not the art, but like. There was some sort of back and forth. I remember someone from the Obsidian team posting on one of those forums being like, "Oh, the third party studio that essentially made the trailer or whatever kind of lightened the colors a little bit or something." But I do expect some graphical improvements. You can show that off. You could show off Hellblade 2 because people like myself have been like, "Hey, where's the combat?" Right? So you could essentially show that off, and whatever else you want. So it's certainly possible they could do exactly what they did this year and do it again next year, because they do have a lot of games coming. I mean, and that's not even getting into like the Fables and the Indiana Joneses and Id's Game and Everwild and State of Decay and Perfect Dark. I mean, there is a lot of games coming probably in the next couple years. So they have it on that front, and now it's just a matter of like showing them and delivering the content, right? So
yeah, I mean that's where we are. I mean, I said on Twitter the other day that like I kind of feel like we're entering this phase now where Microsoft's hopefully going to have a consistent cadence of high quality stuff. And you need events to kind of show off that stuff. Sometimes I don't think it'll all line up against E3 or the summer marketing cycle or whatever. So sometimes maybe you will need an XO or a developer direct or something else. And there's a bunch of events coming up. So yeah, we're going to talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, and I'm running the same gameplay footage I ran on Monday because Starfield won the poll. And I went to record some of the stuff I was playing in Starfield last night, which was the Crimson Fleet. And I was just like, this is kind of too spoilery. And I forget that the game's out in early access for a week now, but the game just launched to everybody else on Wednesday. So I was kind of like, you know what? I really, like, one of the things about reviewing a game early is that you're not really spoiled by anything, right? So one of the reasons I really enjoyed this game quite a bit was because nobody had spoiled anything for it. I didn't see anything about how the main story went or any of the quest lines, so I got to experience it unspoiled, which is why, like, when I talked about it in my video, I was like, I want you guys to experience the way I did. So it was just like the very beginning of the game, so you wouldn't see anything you shouldn't see or any like cool quest lines and stuff. And I'm like, I want you to experience the way I did. So when I recorded that, I was just like, this might give away too much, And I was just like, I'll save this for later. Maybe I could run it, down the road or whatever. But
Yeah.
I was just like, the game's too new. I don't want people to like come to the stream for the first time, right? Because we always get people who listen to this on audio who like, hey, it's my first time watching, and me and Jez are always like, oh great, thanks for stopping by, and then they see something on the stream, they're like, wait a minute, I just got spoiled. I don't want that to happen.
I don't want spoilers. I mean, one of the hardest things about reviewing games like Starfield, which one of the best things about Starfield is its story and the way it's delivered, but like, it's really hard to explain why without getting into spoiler territory. Like, a lot of people were asking me, like, should I just rush through to New Game Plus? Because one of the things that people talk about a lot is the way New Game Plus is implemented, which in of itself is a spoiler, so we can't talk about it. But it's kind of like, no, you don't want to rush to New Game Plus, really. So, but we can't tell you why. So trust me, bro.
You got spoiled though.
Yeah, by you.
Well, that was an accident, but then Joaquin told me he directly spoiled you.
Kind of. He spoiled me a little bit, but I actually got to the point in the story that I think everyone was like, "Oh my god!" But I kind of predicted it, man. I kind of predicted it. Yeah, because it's very similar to a Red Dwarf episode, actually. Which again, I'm not going to talk about it because again, it is spoilers. But there's a Red Dwarf episode, which I'm almost curious. Are they riffing on this Red Dwarf plot arc? But anyway, that's maybe one day we'll do an Xbox 2 Ultimate. That's just a spoiler cast or something for Starfield.
Yeah. Jeremy G in Super Chat says, you see Jaffe's epic takedown today on Starfield's intro? That guy got bam fucking boozled. He sure did. That's how you know this game is just breaking people. It's not only breaking fans of other consoles, it's also breaking... I'll tell you, because I'll get to it. It's also breaking journos. Because, like, you got to reach your SEO, you got to make these articles, you get the review scores, the back and forth about, the Metacritic of this game. Because now suddenly, I don't know if you guys know, an 86 is now an awful score. An awful. 86 Metacritic? God-awful, right? Just,
Hey, it's 85 now. It's gone down.
Well, I mean, 85 on Xbox, 86 on PC, or whatever it is. It's gone down. Still an 88 on OpenCritic, right? But either way, the point I'm trying to make is those scores, an 85, 86, terrible. Absolutely disgusting. Awful video game, should never have played, right? But what Jeremy is referencing is something along the lines. So David Jaffe, he does his show, and he has people that call in on this Discord or whatever. And dude calls in and is talking about how he doesn't like Starfield, right? And whatever reasons. And the reasons he's given are all very vague. Like, oh, it's shallow, this, that, and the other. And you can sort of like see Jaffe sort of like catch on. He's kind of like, he's not really giving any details, right? And Jaffe put out like this, surprisingly, he said this was his favorite single-player game ever made, right? Which is high praise, and considering,
high praise.
All the great single-player games that have come out. And so Jaffe was like, listen to this guy, and he's just like, yeah, I get what you're saying. It's kind of like they present you with that choice with Lynn in the beginning, right? Lynn, the manager, and the guy's like, yeah, he's like, where she's like, oh, you can kill them all or burn the bodies. And he's like, yeah, I get that. Like, which one did you choose? Did you choose burn the bodies? And the guy's like, yeah, I chose that one. Or whatever, and there's like Jaffe's like, oh, okay.
No.
So it's like, so that didn't happen in the game, so you haven't played the game. And the guy was like, I swear I played the game. Like,
oh my god, are you serious? Who?
Serious. Just some random dude, probably random PlayStation fan, who's
so
just like
funny.
Needed to go on David Jaffe's podcast to talk about how bad Starfield is. And literally got exposed for not playing the game because Jaffe was quick on his feet because the criticism the dude was given was all very vague nonsense.
Vague and wishy.
Yeah, like just something he heard from his favorite PlayStation influencers on Twitter or maybe some of the reviews he might have read. It's like, I'm going to get on here and I'm going to crap on this game. And then he just,
that is so funny, man.
It's hilarious. It's just so wholesome.
We need to get Jaffe on.
It's so wholesome though. Like the fact that this game has done this. Well, I mean, wholesome in like kind of like a, the opposite meaning. Like Starfield comes out and it just literally everybody freaks out about it. Xbox fans, PlayStation fans, the media, right? They have this collective just I don't even know. Yeah, like this collectiveness of it's hard to really describe. I've never seen what we're seeing right now happen for any individual game.
No, I mean either. It's embarrassing and ridiculous because, and as well, it's like if you push back against it and try and defend the game, people say that's ridiculous too. Like, oh my god, how dare you defend the game? You can't do anything. So I've just sort of got to a point where it's like, you know what? I'm just not going to say a damn thing about it anymore. It's so exhausting, embarrassing, and weird. It's just weird, man. I'm just gonna play the game and enjoy it because the game. I don't know anyone, even like the most hardcore Xbox fanboy, is not gonna sit there and say Starfield's perfect because it ain't. It's got a lot of issues, man, and like there's a lot of ways that I could see it being improved fairly easily with patches and stuff. And I'm gonna be writing about that pretty soon, but the discourse is so exhausting.
The discourse, yes, the discourse. is weird. And I saw some outlet today talk about how essentially that Xbox needs to be saved and Starfield's not going to save Xbox. But it's always this narrative like, why does Xbox need to be saved and who expected Starfield to save it? Like one game's not going to save a brand. It's a collection of games. And how like Starfield can't do it because it's niche. And I'm just like, what? Bethesda games are niche now? Like when did this happen? I didn't know Skyrim selling 60 million copies and all that sort of stuff ended up like, then I guess everything's niche. Because if you're calling Bethesda games niche, then literally everything is niche because of just how big these games are. So I don't know the point you're trying to make. If you're like literally saying, well, yeah, they're going to make this game and it's, the fans will like it, but nobody else. It's a niche product and it's Bethesda. They'd make those niche games. And I'm like, oh, excuse me? Like what? Skyrim's been sold on like 4 generations of consoles at this point and sold 60 million copies. How is Bethesda games niche?
The goalposts always move, man. You said it a million times before. The goalposts always move. Like, are they going to be called in like Candy Crush niche when the deal closes?
I mean, Call of Duty will be niche
game now.
Call of Duty's going to be
Call
niche.
Of Duty, like, what isn't niche? Is Roblox niche? I don't know. It's why I just don't like talking about this stuff or just trying to get involved in these discussions because a lot of them just revolve around this weird sort of I don't know how to describe it. It's like it's bad faith, but it's like beyond bad faith because it's so bad faith. I actually think these people believe it. It's not even like they're farming clicks anymore. It's like it's so ingrained. The idea that Xbox has to lose, that Xbox has to fail, it becomes so ingrained in the mindset of so many commentators and journalists and YouTubers that they can't see beyond that. They can't physically see beyond that. And Gene Park tweeted Starfield derangement syndrome, and he keeps coming back to it. But really, it's Xbox derangement syndrome. It's not Starfield's fault. It's Xbox. Everything has this weird lens when it's associated with Xbox. And it's not a conspiracy. It's not like they're sitting there like debating how can we undermine Xbox today. It's just the common sense narrative. They call it the common sense narrative that Xbox is on the back foot and has to fail and will fail. That's the common sense about it. You know, we don't see PlayStation, we don't see Nintendo with the same level of scrutiny and get away with like this kind of stuff that Xbox just wouldn't get away with. You know, like, can you imagine if Xbox raised the prices of all of its subscriptions by
Could you imagine? No, we don't have to imagine, because we saw it happen. We saw people's reactions to Microsoft raising Xbox Game Pass by $1 a month, and we saw the reactions. How dare they? The subscriptions are they're overpriced. The Xbox Game Pass is dying. Microsoft is losing so much money on this. Consumers are losing. For a literal $1 a month, right? Granted, like, I'm not arguing that Microsoft should do this or that they're right for raising the price. Like, understandably, like, I get, okay, it's been $9.99 for 6 years. It's not going to remain that. And it's not like the service has gotten, it's not like they added something brand new to the service to justify the price increase. Although, I guess you can make the argument they did, because now they actually have a whole bunch of first-party content coming out. It's like, nobody likes paying more and getting the same stuff, is my point, right? But then,
the point is that we as consumers shouldn't bat for price increases. We should push against it.
Yes.
And I think the reaction against Microsoft's price increases was the correct reaction. However, we don't see the same kind of reaction.
However, PlayStation comes strolling out there and is like, by the way, guess what? We're raising multiplayer access by $20. We're raising our Game Pass competitor by $35, and we're raising the premium tier by $40. And guess what? Too fucking bad. You're just gonna eat it, right? You're just gonna do it because we're PlayStation and we can get away with it because, you know, maybe they think that they can get away with it because they don't have any competition. Maybe they don't view Microsoft as like that much of not going to say direct competitor, but a close competitor. Where God, like if they did this during the PS3 360 era, it would have been like, you know, like, oh my God, like, because they're kind of like neck and neck, right? Even though Xbox was dominating them in North America, it was like, we need to make sure the pricing is aligned, right? Now, you could say, like, and you look at, like, the sales of the console, PS5 and Xbox, it's like the gap has really grown, and PlayStation's like, we don't need to worry about Xbox. We just raised multiplayer access by $20, which people used to, remember, before PlayStation 3 charged for online, they had their devs who made games for them come out and basically say how awful it was that Microsoft was charging for online. I distinctly remember, like, Insomniac devs and other devs who were making games for PlayStation were like, well, you know, if you bought an Xbox and you have to pay for online, and that's an extra $60 a year, and if you did that over 6 years, it'd be $360. Like, you don't have to deal with that on PlayStation. That saves you a bunch of money, right? Because they were trying to extol the virtues of not having to pay for multiplayer until, of course, PlayStation decided to charge for multiplayer, and that changed. But now Sony's like, oh, by the way, we're $80 a year. I distinctly remember, Jez, when Xbox was like, hey, we're doubling the price of gold to $120 a year. Remember? Mm. And the community was furious. And everybody was out there being like, you were furious. You wrote an article. I made a video. Colt made a video. The Xbox community...
I said it's the worst deal in gaming.
Yeah, we came out there and we just hammered them to the point where nobody from Xbox had tweeted all freaking day because they were shamed. We shamed them, right? And then they rolled it back immediately that night. We're like, oh, we'll learn. We're sorry. We did this. I still don't understand how that passed. How somebody saw that and was like, yes, announce this change. Like, without thinking to themselves, hey, this is going to get major pushback. But whatever, it's a corporation. Sometimes those things happen. And we destroyed them for it, and they changed the price, and nothing ever came out of it. And Sony comes in, and like, you look around all the subscription increases that happen, they're all kind of small, like $1 here, $2 there. Although they keep on raising it every single year. Sony comes in, they're like, no, it's $20, $35, $40, right? Where it's just like they're not even doing the $1, $2 thing. It's literally like, okay, it's boom, 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 but offering no value. It's just like, hey, we're increasing the price of our service because we're adding this feature Y, or we're adding this feature X, or we're adding day one games, like we're adding Spider-Man 2 to the premium tier. And guess what? Because of that, we're raising it to $160 a year. Maybe you could like somehow justify that to your fan. Okay, I get it. Like, yeah, you're adding Spider-Man 2. Okay, I understand you got to increase the price. At least you're giving some honey to your consumers to help pass down the awful taste of raising prices. But they didn't even do that. They were just like, whatever, too bad. And at the same time, they're like, we need to do this because we need to get better games for our service. In the month, they offer Saints Row from a studio who just got shut down, and a game who, most people would say is not very good whatsoever, right? But nobody really talked about it. It was kind of a couple hour thing. Couple outlets kind of were like, oh, this is kind of bad, and then shut up. But what are they going to talk about all week? Starfield and how it's niche. Starfield and how it didn't save Xbox. I literally saw a review from Rolling Stone that said Starfield is great, but it can't save Xbox. And I called that shit. I told everybody some outlet was going to run that article because it kind of writes itself, right? Because you have this whole thing about like Xbox being in last place, Xbox buying all these studios and spending all this money and trying to compete, and that some people hold it against them. Some outlets are, clearly don't like the consolidation. They don't like the fact that, Bethesda's been taken off the board. So I was like, somebody's going to write this article about how Starfield, yeah, it's a great game, but it can't save Xbox. But why does it matter? Why does it matter about saving Xbox? Does Xbox need saving? I don't even know. But it doesn't matter because they're going to write constant articles about it because everybody's playing Starfield. So it's in the SEO. So you got to SEO that game. So not only have to you talk about that, but then you have to compare Starfield to other games. You have to compare Starfield to Baldur's Gate now and saying, oh my God, Baldur's Gate's so good. It makes Starfield look like trash or whatever the hell PC Gamer ran, right? And it's like, why? Okay, humans are always very apt to run comparisons about things. That's how we do stuff. Like when you explain a game to somebody, it's like this meets this. Or when I read a book, it's like, it's like Dune meets Lord of the Rings or something. Comparisons are easy to make. However, the things I don't necessarily like are the comparisons where you're trying to uplift something and then destroy the other thing you're comparing it to, right? It's like, Baldur's Gate 3 is amazing and Starfield sucks. Right? Because it comes off as mean-spirited. It comes off as, as a game you just want to torch instead of extolling the virtues of Baldur's Gate 3 and talking about how great that game was to you and the things it did. It's more presented as, here's Baldur's Gate 3 and why Starfield sucks in comparison. I don't like that sort of stuff. Right? And that's even one of the things we try not to do here on Xbox 2, and I try not to do in my own videos when I make them, it is like the idea of I need to uphold Xbox to, slam PlayStation, right? Because some people will do that, and some people have grown their channels doing exactly that. There's some people that would come out in every single video and be like, hey, thank you so much, PlayStation, for providing me with greatness. And Xbox sucks. Every single video, they would basically say, PlayStation is the best and Xbox is the worst. Constantly, right? And it got a lot of traction. But, I'm like, that's lame. Why don't you just talk about how great PlayStation is? Why talk about how great PlayStation is in comparison to how you feel Xbox is the worst? And I guess, people gravitate to that because there's one thing PlayStation fans love to hear more about how PlayStation is great is they love to hear how Xbox is a joke. Right, but
it's exhausting, man.
It is.
When have we ever been on this channel or talking about or trying to put PlayStation down? Like we take the piss out of Jim Ryan when he says something stupid, or like a lot when we criticize like the fact that like I I ain't criticizing Sony for increasing their prices personally. At the end of the day, it's a business, and they want to do that, and the fact and their consumers accept that. That's capitalism, baby. But what we criticize is the double standard in the commentary, where if Xbox was to do that, they get hated on for it like a disproportionate amount of stuff. So, you know, I think that's where a lot of it comes from, is just identifying the sort of the double standard that exists, you know. But anyway, it's exhausting to talk about. There's just Xbox is on a positive upswing, I kind of feel like right now.
Yeah, you made a tweet kind of talking about that essentially.
Yeah, I did. And I get why people do it. It's like you say, you can get like if you get Baldur's Gate and Starfield into a headline at the same time, that's SEO gold, man. You can spin a little bit of negativity in there as well and piss off both sides, or like, you know, rile up one side and piss off the other side. Then yeah, you got a recipe for a great algorithm play there, you know. And I suppose it's kind of hard not to compare Baldur's Gate and Starfield specifically, because they're both launched in the same period. Like, even when I was doing it, because I'm still in the process of reviewing Baldur's Gate, but like the review codes for Baldur's Gate came in like 2 days before launch, and I was kind of like, well, that ain't happening, you know, because a big game, I ain't gonna be able to review that in 2 days. So I kind of had to put that to one side, but I'd still put like 80 hours into Baldur's Gate and then went straight into Starfield. And it was jarring, you know. It was jarring, like how like you go from like fully mocapped NPCs and voice acting in Baldur's Gate, and then you go to Starfield, which has procedural animations for a lot of its stuff. And like some of the NPCs look terrible, frankly, you know, and you go from that to the other, but then you sort of like you realize like these games are trying to achieve different kind of things, right? They're not going up against each other directly. Like Starfield is a sandbox game at the end of the day. Baldur's Gate is not a sandbox game. You know, it pushes you from moment to moment to moment, and every NPC, even every battle in that game, is sort of handcrafted to sort of take you through a pretty, you know, well constructed narrative with a very sort of a very dense branching narrative where your decisions carry a lot of weight, but in a sort of narrow kind of way. Whereas like Starfield, this full blown sandbox playground with spaceships, you know, so with like how many hundreds of thousands of lines of dialogue? I can't even remember.
Like 250,000, something like that.
Yeah, so it's like, how much mocap would you need to do to sort of match Baldur's Gate on that scale? Like, you can't do it, you know. I don't think you can do it with the current technology we've got now. And if you start talking about leveraging artificial intelligence, you're gonna get, you know, the actors mad, and they're on strike right now over artificial intelligence. So it's kind of like a trade-off that they've made as a developer, that some of the shortcomings that Starfield has in comparison to Baldur's Gate is some of the trade-offs of wanting to make a different kind of game. And I think it's okay to highlight those flaws, but I think when you do that, you kind of have to accept the fact that it was a trade-off being made. They could have made a narrower game. They could have made a smaller game, a more focused game, less of a sandbox kind of game. It's not like they don't have the technology to do that. Microsoft's got motion capture technology in-house. They've got some of the best motion capture technology in the world. And look at Gears of War, and look at what they're doing with Hellblade. They have that technology in-house. They opted not to do that because money's a finite resource, time is a finite resource, and if they were to like mocap, and this is just one example of a flaw in Starfield that it has, the people are using it to compare things to. If they were to take all that time and that money and use it to mocap, you end up with a game that looks very different potentially than what they were going for originally, you know. And it's just weird that we have to have these sorts of, I don't know, bad faith sort of comparisons just because the algo rewards it, you know. And then we're sitting there talking about it, which potentially rewards it even further, which is really frustrating.
Yeah, I don't
You
think
can't escape the discourse.
I don't think it rewards it because I don't know anybody's gonna look up what we're really
No, but
talking
it's
about.
it's the sentiment though. It's the fact that we're talking about it is, you know, it's the reason the fact that we're talking about it is the same reason people click on it. You know.
Sure. I mean, I guess I can see that. So I know you haven't really, outside of your review, you haven't really talked on the show about Starfield. So tell me what you love about Starfield and tell me what you don't like about Starfield, because I know you're a big Bethesda fan, right? You loving some Fallout, and I know some of the comparisons between Fallout and Starfield aren't they favor Fallout for you, right? So tell me what you love about Starfield and what you don't like about it.
I have some of the worst takes about Starfield that I haven't really seen anyone else talk about.
Okay.
And it kind of reminds me of what you said to me when we were talking about Starfield originally. And the thing that I dislike the most about it is the lack of violence.
Oh my god.
And guys, like me and Rand were talking about this, about the lack of violence in the game, and Rand was like, "Look, Jez, I'm not 12 anymore. I don't care about the lack of violence." But I was
you specifically were like the lack of gore. You wanted gore. You wanted people's heads to pop off and arms being blown off. You wanted the VAT system from Fallout where you could do that. And you were like, "Come on, bro, gore." I'm like, "Bro, I ain't 12. Like, that's not something that I see and like get super excited about anymore." Like, yeah, maybe if I was young.
Dude.
And it was like, wow, did you see, because I grew up at the time where my parents were like, Mortal Kombat, that's going to ruin you. That's, you know what I mean?
But dude, there's one part, I won't spoil it, but there's a few parts in Starfield where you hate zero gravity. You have zero gravity. And there's like, you're fighting dudes in 0G. And I just can't help but think like, how cool would this be if I shot this dude with a shotgun and then all his little brains and stuff were floating around in 0G? How cool would that be, man? In slow motion with VATs, like from Fallout. It's just I love the VATs from Fallout, man. I love them. I love it in Fallout when like you blow a dude's head off and there's like eyeball spinning towards a screen in slow motion. The cinematic.
I get that because it is cool, but I would say that fits the aesthetic of Fallout and it doesn't fit the aesthetic of Starfield.
I mean, I mean, I will say that I did warm to it over time. And I suppose like one of the things about Fallout, I mean, about Starfield is that like most of the dudes you fight are kind of wearing these thick space suits.
Yeah.
So maybe it doesn't really necessarily make up. I mean, sure, if you hit them with like an explosive, maybe their arms will be blown off. But I suppose I can accept sort of in my head canon that maybe, they wouldn't split apart like a bag of leaves as much if they're wearing like a really thick spacesuit with like armor on. Like some of those ecliptic mercenary spacesuits are just basically like a suit of armor, like ironclad kind of shit. Like almost like a Brotherhood of Steel, almost some of these dudes. But I can appreciate that they wanted to strike a more optimistic tone with this game. I kind of feel like space is kind of optimistic. The idea that we can colonize space at all is kind of optimistic, even though like Earth is destroyed in the future. Well, not destroyed, but you know what I mean.
Uninhabitable.
Uninhabitable. Even though, and that's not a spoiler. That was in the pre-launch materials and stuff. That's just the lore of Starfield. It's not a spoiler. So if you didn't read the timeline they released beforehand, that's the sort of universe that Starfield exists in. But it's still optimistic. It's like, yeah, humanity resolved itself to colonize space, and they did it. And they didn't do it with some sort of like, magical material they found. It's all sort of theoretical possibilities. I think like they've stretched it a little bit here and there, but like stuff like the gravity drive, that's like a theoretical possibility, right? There's no There's not like Mass Effect where they got the Mass Effect fields and they got fast FTL communications and the EZO. You know, like they found a special element 0 which enabled all this kind of stuff. So it's kind of grounded in reality to some degree. And I suppose like it does work. And I appreciate that it's striking a very different tone from Fallout, which is kind of like apocalyptic, almost like apocalyptic dark comedy, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It isn't a dark comedy. It has like comedic moments and stuff like Bethesda games often do, but it is a very different tone. I really do like. I did come to like the tone, even though like I was complaining to Rand guys about Korako and how chirpy and optimistic she is, and I'm just thinking, man, I just want to throw this kid out the airlock. Man.
Because you did.
I want to throw this kid out the airlock.
Because you didn't like any of the companions.
Really
because you wanted to be evil or quote unquote evil, right? You wanted to do morally questionable things.
Horrible thing.
And a couple of the companions, a couple of the companions you get early in the game, Sarah and Sam. They're not like that. They dislike stuff like that. So Jez was complaining. He's like, "Where do I get?" No, and Andrea's pretty down with that, bro. She's pretty down with that.
No, she's not.
More so than Sarah and Sam are.
Yeah, she's a klepto, but I don't think she minds if you steal things. But if you kill someone,
so one of Jez's it's so weird because we were talking, Jez about
Vasco's
and it's funny because
Vasco can't stealth.
It's funny because like the things Jez wanted out of the game were completely different than the things that I wanted out of the game. Jez is like, so I'm like, what are you feeling? And Jez would be like, bro, I can't blow someone's head off and see their eyeballs. And I'm like, is that really a complaint? Like, are you really holding this against Starfield? And he's like, what else? He's like, man, these companions are just a bunch of goody two shoes. Like, I want to just go and destroy and steal stuff, and they're dragging me down. I'm like, is this really a thing? Like, is that really? But you eventually did find companions that would play along to your play style,
yeah,
right?
So like, again, without spoiling, there are companions that you can get that they're not like main companions. So there's two types of companion in Starfield, and one of them is the Constellation companions are the sort of deeper companions, and they have full blown morality meters kind of thing, and where like if you get them to like you, it opens up companion quests, kind of like Mass Effect or the Outer Worlds or whatever. But there are other sort of mini companions who they don't have a full-blown companion storyline or romance options or anything like that, but they have like very different personalities, and of some of them that you do find as part of certain side quests, they will accept murder or even celebrate murder.
They will. I like how you said they will accept murder. Like,
one of them is like my favorite companion is just like, she just doesn't care no matter what you do, and every now and then she'll be like, hey, I stole this for you earlier, and she'll bring me a pile of money, and I'll be like, oh, thank you very much, I'll use this to buy more ammunition to do more murder. But Vasco doesn't judge you though. The robot, he does not judge you. Like,
he doesn't.
You can go murdering, doing whatever you want, but I don't think Vasco has a companion side quest, so he falls into that category of like sort of mini companion kind of. Vasco's still probably my favorite companion to take along, just because he's the least annoying. But at the same time, Vasco cannot stealth, Rand. And if I'm trying to play stealthy, and I'm there sneaking around, and then Vasco's there stomping as loud as he can, because he can't crouch because he's a robot. And then so like, yeah, the Constellation companions are all lame. They're all wet blankets. I hate them, all of them. They all suck. But some of the other, less morally ambiguous, or more morally ambiguous, I should say, companions, they're much more interesting. But there are things that, like, those are subjective things that I didn't like about the game. The things that I actually think are pretty terrible, things that
whoa. Let's go with the things that are really good first, and then go with the things that you didn't like. No. Are we going the opposite? Are we going opposite?
I want to go the opposite.
Okay,
I want to get the bad stuff out of the way.
Okay,
first.
Get the bad stuff out of the way. Go ahead.
So the bad stuff, like, I'll just run through them quickly because they're kind of things that I think they will fix. I think they will fix and improve these. in subsequent updates and stuff. But because a lot of them are quality of life improvements, like things like, why can't I just eat that chicken tikka masala that's on the table? Why do I have to pick it up, put it in my inventory, and then eat it? And then why does it only give me 5 hit points? There's also stuff like the stealth mechanic has just been directly ported from Skyrim and Fallout. Now, the stealth mechanic works in Skyrim and Fallout because there's no electricity in those games. Like, a lot of the time, it's dark all the time, and stealth on this engine works on light. You have to stay in a shadow to be stealth. There's not many shadows in Starfield, so the stealth system just doesn't work as well. They need something like a personal stealth field generator, which exists in the Fallout universe, but not in this universe, which has advanced technology. But I don't know. So I think the stealth system needs to be looked at or improved and stuff like that. Like, even if they just made it so like leaning didn't trigger enemies' line of sight, I think that would help a lot. But whatever. So like the stealth's just not very good. Not a fan of the UI. The UI could be a lot better as well. I kind of feel like the inventory selection stuff is awful, in particular, like where you have to pan across to different screens to get to your inventory when you're trying to send things to your cargo hold, and then like arranging things by weight, and like everything, like it feels like you jump through so many damn hoops and there's just so many damn lists. It could be so much better. It could just be so much better if they developed it a bit more, because this is the same inventory system they've been using for a million years, and I kind of feel like they could have done more to improve it here. The other thing that I really hate about the game is the lack of maps in major cities. It's not an issue now for me because now I've learned where everything is. And much like Oblivion or Skyrim back in the day, which don't have particularly great maps either, but this is even a step backwards even from them. Like, there's just no map. Like, if you just want to find, if you're in like a killer city for the first time, or Neon or whatever, and it's just like, I just want to find a vendor that I can vendor my specific items to, or I want to find the trade authority vendor or whatever to sell my stolen goods. It's a pain until you've learned where they all are. And I suppose in a way it's kind of like, yeah, maybe it encourages exploration or whatever. But like, once I've been there once and I've physically walked around, shouldn't there be a map? Does Google Maps not exist in the future? Like, we have this technology now. We have Google Maps now, which tells me where the vendors are in my town.
Hey, Google doesn't exist in the future, bro.
Google does not exist in the future.
No.
No. So the surface map or whatever they give you, which has like the little points of interest and the fast travel points, that just sucks compared to like having knowledge of where the vendors are, and just quality of life stuff. A lot of it's just quality of life stuff, So a lot of that stuff's not a particularly big deal, and it's stuff that they can fix in a patch. And this is kind of why I gave it a 9 out of 10, because I didn't feel like any of this stuff is sort of pales in comparison to the good stuff.
Yeah, tell me about the good stuff.
The good stuff in Starfield is just so good that none of those little things just matter. None of those things matter to me when you don't like maps or inventory stuff or encumbrance. I see a lot of people complain about encumbrance and stuff, but none of it matters compared to the good stuff. I love building ships. Like, the shipbuilding stuff is so good.
Have you seen the videos on Twitter of people building like the Normandy for Mass Effect in the game?
Yeah.
I saw Gene Park, or building the Pelican from Halo, or building an X-wing or a Star Destroyer. I just saw something where somebody built like an L-shaped ship that can't get hit, that enemies can't hit or something. Like, they're
there are some bugs with the targeting system in the game. There are some weird quirks. Like, if you watch a companion, they will. If you just watch a companion trying to shoot a small target, they can't hit it, man. They can't hit turrets. They are physically incapable of hitting turrets. They're too small. So there are some issues with the way bullets and the bullet spread works against aiming and stuff. I just think companions can't aim down sights or something. I don't know. But anyway, again, these are things that can be fixed. But like, it's so cool that I can build a ship, not only walk through the ship, I can see the interior of the ship when I'm outside of the ship. I can also fly that ship and blow up other ships with that ship that I've constructed. Like, it's just amazing how, from a technical standpoint, it's just a marvel to witness how that works. But also, from more importantly, a gameplay perspective, to me anyway. I've seen some people complain about the ship combat, but I love it. I love the ship combat. You play on like a higher difficulty, like hard or very hard even. The ship combat feels great. And when you upgrade your ship and you unlock some of the skills and you get like the more shields and stuff like that, it just and some of the ship battles that happen as part of side quests are so epic, Star Wars-esque, with like several ships, lasers flying everywhere, and I was telling you, like, I was like playing Starfield till like 7 in the morning when I was reviewing it.
Yeah.
And I was doing a side quest, and I won't spoil which one it is, but there's a side quest, and part of this side quest is like there's an epic ship battle in it. I was playing the game, I was really struggling with the ship battle, and I was thinking like, God, my ship's just physically not powerful enough to do this. And I was banging my head against the ship battle over and over again. There were so many ships, there's so much to manage and look out for, and like I really learned like some of the nuances of ship combat through that battle. Like when you press boost, it kills all the enemies that are locked onto you, and when it's coming up with missiles targeting you, if you press boost and then unboost, it will force all the nearby enemies to have to relock on again. So you can be very clever with your boost and stuff like that. Also, if you are most enemy ships fire from the front. In fact, I think pretty much all enemy ships fire from front. So you can stick behind an enemy ship. A lot of the times with like good flying maneuvers and stuff, they can't hit you. And sometimes you have to do that in a hard ship battle. And I was stuck on this ship battle for like 2 hours, man. 2 or 3 hours I was stuck on this ship battle. And then I realized that I'd been playing the game on very hard difficulty, and I'd forgot to bump it back down. And I was just struggling needlessly against this battle. With this this crappy ship that I hadn't upgraded because I didn't have the skills, but I managed to do it even on very hard difficulty. And for me, that was like the epic moment of the game where I was like, "Oh my God, I finally did it!" Because I really had to learn the nuances of the ship combat to achieve it with my crappy ship on very hard difficulty, and it just felt so good when that final ship exploded and all its parts separated in 0G. Amazing. It was that moment for me. And I think one of the things that I often see when people talk about Starfield on Twitter and stuff is that there is always a moment for people when they go from like being a little bit skeptical of the game to falling in love with the game. And I think that side quest was it for me. I did that whole side quest through, and there was like this side quest had like multiple finales and multiple climaxes, and I was just like, this is some of the best storytelling Bethesda's ever done. Some of the best set pieces, some of the best like scripted moments that you don't expect from the creation engine, and I was just like, God damn, this feels like I'm in my own personal Star Wars Cowboy Bebop sort of adventure, and I just fell in love with the game at that point. And since then I've been pretty much playing it nonstop. Like there's all like little projects.
How many hours you have in it now? How many hours you have in it?
Oh,
because I got 100.
About 200.
I got 100.
I'm about 200 hours now, I think.
Ooh, hey, chat. Let us know how many. If you're playing Starfield, let us know how many hours you have in the game. I'd be very interested in seeing.
Yeah, I've got like because I started over, didn't I?
You did, which is insane to me. You're like, I got a save with 110 hours, and I'm starting completely over. I was like, excuse me.
I do that.
What?
I've done that with Baldur's Gate as well. I've started over because I I didn't like some of the decisions I made, and no, I wanna be more efficient and more effective and play through again. So like, yeah, I started over. I wiped my 110-hour save for the review build,
Dude,
which I felt.
Tress Wonderland is 145 hours in it right now. Achievements got 30.
Yeah,
I mean, people are posting their hours in the game.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier, Jez, about how like it's always like that moment that some people have, because like I was very much like you, where in the beginning, and I mentioned this on my video and on the podcast Monday, so I won't go into too much depth, but I was kind of bored in the beginning. I was kind of like the quest they were because I play Bethesda games differently than you, right? You are someone who's going to live in this world. You want to go explore. Because one of the things that you were complaining about to me was like, where the F is like a motorcycle or a vehicle. You really didn't like how they did the exploration in this game, right? You were like, why can't I have a land vehicle, right? And that's not why I was going to play this game. Like it was all about the quests. It was all about the story. It was all about like the dialogue and the gunplay. And I wasn't going to do any of the outpost building or ship building because that just doesn't interest me. So in the beginning, when they they shove you off to New Atlantis and you're like, oh my God, look at all the loading. And then you're like, okay, then they give you these activities, you start doing them, but they're kind of just fetch questies and not really interesting. They don't have any really cool dialogue, or they don't have any really cool payoffs and setups and payoffs, right?
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like, okay, I'm like 6 hours into the game or whatever. I'm like, I feel like I haven't done anything, and this isn't anything I would like want to recommend to someone, right? Because it's like, oh, these quests, and it was just like, and then I tried to explore a planet, and it was boring. Like I went to like 3 points of interest, ran to them, and it was like, oh, you're in a cave with some minerals, and oh, here's like a crater, and I was like, this is lame. And then I finally got that one mission, which I talked about, where it was like I went to a derelict ship and the gravity was turning on and off, which at the time I think you were the only other person who had done that mission. I talked to Maddie, I talked to Cog, I talked to Colt, I talked to Kid Smooth, I talked to Addict, I talked to everybody I knew that was playing it early, Gene Park. None of them had played that mission. And I was sitting there like, this is like the coolest thing, because they finally like really like leaned in heavily to something that you can only do in science fiction, right? Because that's not something you can do in Fallout, and that's not something you can do in Elder Scrolls and a medieval fantasy. It's like, yes, play with the gravity. And there was like, from that point on, I guess maybe I just had a good streak, because then afterwards, I think once somebody had said, hey, do the Vanguard quest line, and I found it, and then my opinion of the game did a 180. Because before I was like, when I was playing it, I was doing my stuff, and I was playing these quests that I didn't really care for, and I was like, I'd rather be doing something else. Like, I almost like, I'd rather be playing a different game, which is so odd because I was looking forward to Starfield. I was like, I'd rather be reading a book, or I'd rather be playing a different game. And then finally, when it all clicked and I got to the stuff I personally wanted to get into, all I wanted to do was play Starfield. All I wanted to do was just I didn't want to get up. I would play to like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. When before it was like, man, when am I going to get off? Because this is boring. To like, I can't stop thinking about this game, and I can't stop talking about this game. That's when it like flipped for me. Like when you mentioned like that one mission or whatever, right?
Yeah, I think everyone has that moment with this game, and I think like one of the things that I do think is really bad about Starfield is the intro, man. Like the intro is really weak, and it doesn't wow you, it doesn't hook you, and I feel like it's almost like they did it really intentionally, because when you play some of these other missions, it's like, god damn, they really went all out here to deliver some of these set pieces.
Yeah, and you said you loved you thought the Crimson Fleet quest line was the best in the game, right? The coolest thing.
The Crimson Fleet is so amazing and so cool. It's my favorite quest in the game.
I think you said to me, it was like, you said it could be its own game. Like they could have fleshed it out, made it its own game.
They could do a whole game about the Crimson Fleet. Like that faction is so cool, and I don't want to spoil it again because you just have to go and live it. Well, that's the thing about Starfield. It wants you to live it, and that's the that's kind of how Oblivion was, you know. Like you just in Oblivion, you're just this prisoner dude who ends up in this wild situation. And I think like the thing about Starfield is when you start it, there is this kind of cynicism, and I think it is. I think maybe part of it is like the sort of expectation that Xbox is somehow gonna disappoint you. I don't know. Maybe that was in the back of my mind, you know, because a lot of, you know, because I just know how I knew how this game was going to be interpreted as being a barometer for the success and failure of Xbox. And there was that kind of cynicism in the back of my mind, like, oh God, is this all it is? You know, and I got to New Atlantis, and I was just like, okay, I'm doing these side quests in New Atlantis. This guy wants me to find his tablet that he's lost in the coffee shop or whatever, and this and you know and all these sort of lame kind of quests, you know. Um, and I'm just kind of sitting there thinking, is this it? And then like this random dude's just like, oh, please join the UC Vanguard, you know, join us up and be a space cop or something. I'm thinking like, oh, is this just going to be a load of fetch quests? And then like, and then you do it. You sort of you get past that, you get over that sort of hump of that expectation that this is all that there is to this game, and it's like, oh shit, this is actually kind of crazy right now. Like I didn't expect. Okay, the game is suddenly Alien Isolation. You know, when you're doing the UC Vanguard quest chain, and then crazy shit starts happening later on in that quest too, and it's like, man, the game sort of it sort of almost disappoints you on purpose to begin with. It really lowers your expectations when you first start playing. So when those big moments do come, they hit so hard and they hit so strong. And I don't know if they did that intentionally so, but like when you start out in Starfield, it does feel flat. It feels flat. Like I'm a miner guy, and now this random dude showed up and he's giving me a spaceship, and there's these artifacts like, and these guys want me to be an explorer. Why do I care? Why do I care about this? You know, make me care, game. And then it's like, that's not the kind of game this is, you know, for me. And I had to rewind my brain and put myself back in Oblivion when I was a kid, and just kind of like remind myself what it was like playing Oblivion for the first time. And it was just like, this is what Oblivion was like when I first played Oblivion, because I'd never played a Bethesda game before. Never played a Bethesda game before Oblivion. And I honestly never played a game that had given me that much freedom. That had given me that much freedom to just sort of go anywhere or do anything. So it almost confused me the first time I played Oblivion, you know. And I stepped into that first Oblivion gate. I was like, okay, I'm in hell now. What's going on here?
Right.
And then you go, and then you're traveling across Cyrodiil, and then you just sort of discover that, oh, hang on, there's a random door here, or there's a random cave here, and now, oh wow, there's a huge dungeon here that goes on forever and ever. And now there's like some crazy NPC in here who's giving me some kind of crazy quest, and it's just like the game sort of, and it's like what Todd Howard said in the interviews, like the more you put into Starfield, the more you get out. And like, I just keep wanting to give more of myself to this game, and it keeps giving stuff back. Like I was just randomly flying around the other day, and Grandma showed up. Have you seen Grandma yet in Starfield?
Yeah. It's funny. I was talking to Cog about that. He wanted like the border ship killer and take her ship, but then he couldn't. He like physically couldn't. It was like you felt bad. And it's always interesting when something that, you know, a character in a video game, when you feel something for it and you morally don't want to do it, when it doesn't matter, you would feel bad, like, oh, I don't want to take this away from Grandma, I'd feel bad. It's like, bro, you know, it's like, it's just code in a game. Like, dude, it won't matter. You know, but Cog was, I couldn't do it to her. I couldn't do it to her.
I was the same way. I've been trying to play this evil asshole space pirate the whole game, and like doing terrible things. And you know, and again, I don't want to spoil the terrible things you can do, but you can do some terrible things in this game, like with your decisions. And again, I was just flying around, and there's just a spaceship with Grandma, call sign Grandma. It's like, hey, do you want to come in? I got some spare food here. Do you want some cake? I was like, yeah, I'll have some cake. I'll have some cake. And I just sat. I went on the ship, sat in the chair. You know, full role play. I'm gonna sit in the chair and talk to Grandma for a while. And Grandma's telling me about her life, and her husband passed away, and now she's just living out her days, traveling the stars. And I was like, jeez. And I'm just sitting there thinking, Grandma, I was going to blow your ship out of the sky and and then loot your cargo hold, but now I can't. And look at this delicious cake you've made. And that was actually the last thing I've done in Starfield, like since I last played, which was yesterday. I haven't played it today, as work's been full on, but
I guess
I love the game. I absolutely love the game.
You love it. So is it going to be your game of the year? Because it is for me. Because I told you before, and I've said this on the show, I like Bethesda games, but I don't love them. Right? I enjoyed Fallout 3, but I didn't love Fallout 3. And in fact, I only liked it enough where it was like I didn't even play Fallout 4. And I liked Oblivion and like Skyrim, but I don't love them. Like I wouldn't consider them the best games of those years I played. And it was really the sci-fi nature of this game that really spoke to me because I'm a sci-fi nerd, right? And what they do with the main story was like super up my alley. And because I feel like you can just do more in a sci-fi setting than you can others. Like you can just make stuff up, right? But I ended up loving this game. And it's probably going to be my game of the year. Granted, we got to see how Alan Wake 2 turns out because Alan Wake 2 is a game I've been looking forward to. I mean, what seems like ever since Alan Wake 1, right? Because I love Alan Wake, and the fact that we're getting a sequel is absolutely amazing. So there's still Alan Wake 2 to come. There's still Spider-Man 2, but I have a feeling that won't be in the running with Starfield. So for me, I went from just liking Bethesda games to loving the hell out of Starfield. And it's probably going to be my game of the year. And so I'm curious with you, because you did have some complaints, but you've come completely around on it. So you think it's gonna be your game of the year as well, potentially?
Now, I'm not gonna say definitively yes, because I haven't finished Baldur's Gate.
Right, there's still Baldur's Gate.
And Baldur's Gate is incredible. Like Baldur's Gate is sort of like my dream game.
Okay.
So but Baldur's Gate is not perfect either, despite what everyone says. Like, and like I said recently on one of the other shows that towards the end of Act 2, Baldur's Gate was falling apart for me. And to be fair to them, they have fixed a lot of the bugs that I was experiencing towards the end of Act 2, where like NPCs know things they shouldn't know. NPCs that are dead are being referred to in dialogue. And a lot of these sort of branching narrative logic failures are things they've been prioritizing for fixes. And they've just issued update 2, and they've fixed thousands of bugs. So like when I go back to Baldur's Gate, which will probably be pretty soon because I still need to review it, I can foresee like I'm going to end up with a more polished experience potentially than a lot of the reviewers did. So like even if reviewers are giving Baldur's Gate 10 out of 10 on the back of Baldur's Gate being a bit buggy towards the end of the game, I'm going to be getting a more polished experience. So I'm expecting to have an even better experience. But it's going to be close. It's going to be really close. And I wasn't thinking that before, like with Starfield. Like initially with Starfield, for the first 20 hours, I would probably for the first 20 hours of playing Starfield and not really understanding what they were going for, Baldur's Gate was 100% probably still going to be my game of the year. That kind of came out of left field for me because I hadn't been following Baldur's Gate at all. I never played Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. I watched my friend play Baldur's Gate 2 when I was a little kid, or maybe it was Baldur's Gate 1 even. I mean, it was that long ago. So that was I had no experience with it. I never played Dungeons and Dragons really, not properly. So I have no nostalgia for any of that stuff. Where Baldur's Gate 3 succeeds for me personally is it's the Dragon Age sequel that I've been waiting years for and never gotten. Dragon Age was always sort of like this spiritual successor to Baldur's Gate, and now Baldur's Gate 3's kind of come back around and given me the Dragon Age experience that BioWare doesn't seem to be capable of delivering anymore. So there's a nostalgia aspect there for me as well with Baldur's Gate. But it's going to be close, man. It's going to be close because Starfield is so fun, and I love the world. I love the lore. I've really gotten into Starfield's lore, man. Like, the lore is so deep. When you look at like the colony wars and stuff, and again, I don't want to spoil
the
it,
mech
but
stuff, the terramorphs, right? Like all like
the
House
Xeno warfare
Faroon,
stuff,
yeah.
and I'm actually like one of the articles I'm coming up with recently soon is going to be like Starfield is the perfect setting for a grand strategy sci-fi game like Stellaris. Like, you could do like a whole game about a 4X strategy game about the colony wars in space, like between like you've got 3 defined factions there. You got House Faroon, cultists, and you got the Freestar Collective. It's kind of like, I don't know, your Terrans almost. And then you've got the the United Colonies and stuff with the which I suppose is a bit like the Zerg in a way. And it's so cool and so deep. So yeah, it's tough, man. It's between those two games. Like,
you don't think you don't think anything else coming out the rest of the year is gonna compete for it?
No, I don't think so. Like, well, no, not for me, maybe, but don't sleep on Liza P. is all I'm gonna say about that.
Are you playing Liza P right now?
Can't say. Well, can I say? I don't know. But don't sleep on Liza P either. I think that game's gonna surprise people. I really
what a month for Xbox Game Pass, bro. You come out, you put Starfield in there, right? Big game. And then you get Liza P later in the month alongside like Payday 2 and Party Animals.
Payday 3.
Payday 3. Yeah, Payday 3, right? Party Animals finally hits. You have like Solar Ash finally coming to Xbox. September probably the biggest month for Game Pass in the history of the service, I think. I mean, Starfield's clearly the biggest game. Well, I mean, I guess you can say maybe like Forza Horizon 5 is somewhat comparable. We're pretty close. We do have some numbers to talk about, but I want to get through some super chats that people have been dropping while we were talking about Starfield. One says, I need a 5-minute rant from Jez because he revealed the Switch 2 was at Gamescom and they ignored him until now with a rage emoji. We'll be talking about that later.
Ignoring me.
Yeah, they ignored. Well, I mean, they also the journals don't like Jez.
No, they hate me.
They do not like Jez whatsoever.
No, they don't.
You're not part of the Ivory Tower clique in the San Francisco. You're not part of the San Francisco elite who love the smell of their own farts. You know.
I never heard that term before, but a bunch of people have said to me about San Francisco.
Yeah, it's just because they're all from. That's IGN, GameSpot. That's where they're all located. The San Francisco. They're the San Francisco elite. You know. They fart in jars and then smell them, and they'd be like, "Yes, I'm the best game journo there is." Right? It's so funny because they get upset when other people critique them. So like their job is to critique these products, these games, and write reviews. But God forbid you critique them. You can't talk about my review. How dare you? That's my subjective opinion. I am infallible. You know, but it's like, wait a minute. So it's okay to dissect and review a game, but it's not okay for anybody to kind of dissect and review your opinion of said game. It's like off the table. You're untouchable as a critic.
Yeah.
And as they take a whiff of their morning fart that they saved in their jar, you know. Nuts. You know.
Oh dear.
I'm sorry. The San Francisco elite, bro. What else is there? It's true. We have Joshua saying, opinions are opinions, but I feel like much of the Starfield discourse trademarked is just BGS contrarianism in the journosphere coming to roost. Some people were just never, ever going to be happy regardless. I think that's very true. I think that's very true.
Yeah, I think it's clear reading some of the reviews that, especially like when you go and read well, not that I've read the whole thing because ugh. But like if you look at like Metro, that terrible British tabloid, like you just knew they were never gonna say anything nice about Starfield. Like that it's like their whole shtick is like hating on Xbox and stuff.
Yep.
And yeah.
Jack says, can
Oh,
Xbox
well.
have success and it not be negative? What the F? No, they can't. Anytime Xbox has some modicum of success, you have to question it. You have to come out there and be like, is this really what they're saying? Are there some leaks here that you can get? Like, is this really good? Is this a great thing? Or is this actually bad for the industry? Is this game actually really good? Or are people just having a pity party for Xbox? You know, like anytime Xbox has any success, it's going to be met with skepticism, cynicism, right? And that's just kind of the way it is. And Starfield really shows that in spades with the reaction to this game. I mean, come on. You got people making shit up, calling in other podcasts and talking about, I played this game. You know, it's gotten bad when like you haven't even played it, but you're just straight up lying about stuff, right? He also says, glad to have you back, Jez. You have been missed. Jez has been missed. It's good to have him back. It's good to hear him again. Meat Puppet says, sitting at a 86 or whatever, the score is as being as bad. The score is hypocritical because if it were any other team, they would be saying it's really great. You think they'll let co-op? Like co-op in Starfield? I don't know. Is that something they could add down the road, Jez?
I don't think so. I don't think they could add co-op to Starfield retroactively, but again, it's one of them articles I'm kind of thinking of, like, maybe Starfield should have been the multiplayer game and not Fallout.
You know, I was even thinking, like, if this was another studio, like, imagine another studio had put out a 42, like they did with Fallout 76, right? And everybody doubted them that they could rise to their former glory of Skyrim, Oblivion, and the Fallout games, right? People would be celebrating the return of Bethesda to their glory. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because they put out Fallout 76, and granted, it may not have been like Todd's team who made it. It was like Bethesda Austin or whatever, but it was their name on it. And it was just this awful game at launch that really didn't work well or didn't do the things they said it was going to do. And granted, now apparently it's a lot better. But usually you see teams when they release like a dud like that, and then their next game is the return to form, you see like a celebration within the industry. Like finally, like if BioWare returns to form with Dreadwolf or Mass Effect, you will see a celebration of like, oh my God, BioWare's back, right? Like the BioWare that we loved. And instead, you kind of just get this poo-poo. It almost sort of feels like people were just waiting, biding their time to once again like, shit all over Bethesda and the type of games they make. It's like, oh, but Bethesda Starfield's just the type of game Bethesda makes. It's like, yeah, no shit. Naughty Dog makes the games Naughty Dog makes. Insomniac make the game Insomniac makes. Coalition make the game Coalition makes. Like, what is this whole thing about like shitting on the type of game a studio is known for and is celebrated for is suddenly now like a huge negative? You know what I mean?
It will be interesting, right? If like, for example, I've heard the Mass Effect is ditching open world, and going back to its classic format. I don't know if that's accurate, 100%, but it's an industry rumor. So like, if Mass Effect goes back to doing exactly what it's known for, like they'll be celebrated for it. But like, if Starfield, one of the criticisms of Starfield is that it's just a Bethesda game and it doesn't really do anything beyond being a Bethesda game. Like, yeah, it's bolted on some things like space combat and stuff. That's really an extension of the base building mechanics, or which you could say is just an extension of creation kit modding or whatever. But it's like, why does Starfield get this sort of reductionism, but like other games don't? Like, what? What do they want? What do they want? You know, what do you want from us?
I don't know.
That's what they must be saying. Like, yeah, Starfield has its flaws, and there are things about Starfield that I do kind of wish they'd iterated more on, like the menus. I wish they would have looked at stealth a little bit more, because it does feel like stealth has just been bolted on from Fallout, which is heavily based around shadows and
there is
light.
equipment that will help you turn invisible in the game.
Yeah, I know. And I do have some of that stuff. But like until you get like a piece of gear with chameleon on it, or you get certain abilities down the line, which are spoilers, the stealth system's really, really poor. Like in Fallout, you can pretty much stealth straight away because it all revolves around light and shadow. And there's just no shadows in Starfield because everyone's got the lights turned on. And you can't shoot the lights out because it's not an immersive sim. So, but anyway, that's just sort of an example of like something that I think might have been a little bit more of an afterthought, and that's a valid criticism. But I don't know why Bethesda gets this sort of like the same kind of flack, and maybe some of it's residuals from Fallout 76 being a disaster, and maybe some of it's residuals from Xbox being Xbox, and anything being associated with Xbox is bad. Xbox podcast bad, Xbox game journalist bad, game associated with Xbox bad. I got dudes who never met me or never met you and never known us and never known any of our content, who just automatically hate by association with Xbox, and Bethesda's in that universe now. They're in that universe now, where they have to contend with this sort of skepticism, But I think if Microsoft keeps this sort of consistency and quality, hopefully we'll get to a point where people just start to accept the idea that Xbox is actually okay. Or is that too much? Is that too optimistic?
I don't know. I'm used to it, bro. I'm used to it. People look at me and they're just like, "Oh, and well, he likes Xbox, so he's awful, and he must be like a raging toxic fanboy or whatever," which can be further from the truth. It's just what it is, man. It's just what it is. We have Panda Man saying, "Jez, Starfield or Diablo for your game of the year?" Man, Diablo kind of like fallen off a cliff, hasn't it? You don't see anybody talking about Diablo anymore. Yeah, I know. I looked yesterday; it was like number 20 in Xbox's most played game list.
The thing about Diablo is like the seasons just aren't that interesting for most people. Like Diablo 3 had like 40 seasons or something ridiculous. Like a huge amount. Diablo 3 had like a huge amount of seasons, and it was popular, but it was always like specifically catered to Diablo 3 fans, who would come in and play pretty much every season like almost habitually. Because it's like a gaming comfort food. I think Diablo 4 will slip into that same category of like gaming comfort food. But I don't know if there's a lot of people out there who are sort of interested in that. And furthermore, there's just a lot of other games to play right now. Like, why would I bother going through Diablo again when the season's not that interesting for one thing, but also there's Starfield to play, there's Baldur's Gate to play, there's Lies of P coming up to play, and there's Armored Core, which I've barely played. Jesus, there's so many games to play. Sea of Stars, I haven't even installed that yet. And then like even next month, you've got like Forza and City Skylines, and it's non-stop really. So like, if you want me to be interested in Diablo, you've got to do a little bit more than adding like slapping on some kind of modifier and maybe adding a bit of loot here and there. You got to do something way more interesting to hold my interest with Diablo. You really, really do. So yeah, Diablo is very much.
But I mean, that was your go-to game of the year this year, and it sounds like it maybe will be your third, maybe not even be in your top 5 potentially. I don't know.
I mean, it depends how many games I got to play. Like, Jesus, Cyberpunk, man.
Yeah, Cyberpunk, new expansion.
Cyberpunk 2.0. I mean, let's call it what it is. It's literally called Cyberpunk 2.0, which is like a huge update to the game. And I've played it already. I went and played it in Poland. It feels almost like a different game. They've like completely revamped everything. there's like these new crit states that are really, really fun. I can't even remember what they're called off the top of my head. But like the combat feels way more interesting. The melee combat, they have really, really revamped the melee combat. And it feels really satisfying and weighty. And there's like special moves in the melee combat now. And the talent trees have been completely revamped. And they are way more intuitive now and easy to sort of make a cohesive build. They removed a lot of those boring like plus 1% crit talents and stuff and just made everything more interesting. And then on top of that, you've got like a whole new, city to play with in Cyberpunk, or a new city district. So maybe it could end up being Cyberpunk even being above Diablo, because let's face it, it's going to be essentially a brand new game. And there's also like Resident Evil 4 Remake came out this year, Jedi Survivor, which I haven't played this year. This year is ridiculous, man. It is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Diablo's probably not going to get a look in for Game of the Year for me, even though like how hyped I was for that shit. I bought the Lilith statue.
I mean, you bought the Lilith statue, yeah. I mean, no, it's interesting how it's all playing out. Yeah. Lanzo says, imagine the Discourse of Starfield was a PlayStation game. Well, it'd be interesting because I asked Jez this earlier before the show. I was like, hey, if Starfield was multi-plat, do we see this sort of discourse surrounding this game? And he said no, we wouldn't see any of it if this game was on PlayStation, if it was multi-plat, that we wouldn't hear all the crazy takes. I don't know if you've seen some of the crazy mods. There was a mod that somebody put out there that put in the PlayStation Studio logo intro over the Bethesda one, so
it
was like
that.
PlayStation was that's how they're down bad. Jodicus says, game has 57 reviews, 7 of which are only 7s or lower, but a game is a 7. But the game is a 7. Game is a 7, but played more than most 9s and 10s. Weird. Yeah, you get into the whole review thing, other people's opinions, 7 from IGN, 7 from GameSpot. I think there's even a 4 I saw today someone gave it, and like a couple 5s or whatever. Obviously, I don't think it's a 7 or a 5 or a 4. It's weird because like you look at a review outlet like IGN and the power that they have because they're the biggest gaming website in the world, and they see that the game's a 7, but people don't look for other reviews. They don't even read the article. It's just like, oh, it's a 7, so it must not be any good. But then you get people from IGN who'll be like, well, no, 7's a good on our scale, right? Like it's a good game, and it's like, it may be in your scale, but the problem is most people don't look at 7 as a good game. I'm sorry, they just don't. 7's like a C-. It's just okay. And most people will tend to avoid 7s. It's not, I don't know. It's, to me, when you look at a review like, and it's like, oh, this game's a 7. That's not, in this day and age, it's not considered good. Most people don't even consider something worth playing unless it's an 8 or above, which is sad. But it's true.
And even an 8 is tough.
And even a low 8 is kind of like, no, this has to be 9 or above, right? But then, like, you look at IGN's other reviews, for instance, and I think they gave Atlas Fallen a 7, which is like the same score as Starfield, and I just shake my head. I'm like, in no world is Atlas Fallen as good as Starfield. Like, Atlas Fallen is a mediocre to bad game. And I know Umbra's listening. Umbra, do you think Starfield is the same as Atlas Fallen? Because I know how much you love Atlas Fallen. Or better yet, Jez, IGN gave Exoprimal an 8. So they think Exoprimal is a better game than Starfield. Granted, I know the intricacies. Not Dan Stapleton didn't review both. Different reviewers, obviously different personal tastes. But it's IGN, right? So IGN is saying Exoprimal is a better game and worth your time more than Starfield is, which is whatever. But that's how the game is played. You see some of these things and it's like, don't know about this. I don't know, right? But yeah. We have BT Maverick saying, welcome back, Jezmeister. Glad you're feeling better. Did you get any hands-on with the new Lenovo handheld? And if so, are you more excited for this than the ROG? Also, appreciate you, Rand, for your pure honesty and great opinions. Well, thank you. You get any hands-on time, Jez?
I did not get hands-on with the Lenovo Legion Go. It's not called the Play, is it? Play was the Android one. I did not try the Lenovo Legion. I did actually get invited to do it, but it was up in Berlin, and I also had COVID. So even if I could get to Berlin, I would have had COVID, so that wasn't going to happen. But I'm really intrigued by it because it just looks kind of incredible. I don't know if you've seen it, Rand, but it's got like you can take the joysticks off like a Nintendo Switch, right?
Okay.
But one of the sticks you can actually like put it flat on the table and use it as a mouse, and then the Lenovo Legion Go itself has a kickstand, like a tablet sort of Surface style kickstand, so you can just put it on your desk and use one of the joysticks as a mouse, and then hook up a little keyboard or whatever, and then boom, you've got basically got a full PC. It's just crazy, like this sort of new PC category that sort of came out of nowhere. And the thing that's kind of exciting about the Lenovo Legion Go is like it's bigger, it's got a bigger battery, it's got a bigger screen. It's a pretty damn large device. It's bigger than Steam Deck. So maybe it handles power and longevity better than the Asus ROG Ally, but doesn't have variable refresh rates on the screen, which is hard to ditch on PC once you've had it. And also, like, it's a portrait display, not a landscape display, because I think Lenovo's just using its Android tablet leftovers to make the displays on this device. So, like, it's gonna have pros and cons against the ROG Ally, you know. So, like, even though it does have a bigger screen, does it have a better screen? Maybe not. It's not Linux, it's full Windows, it's a full Windows PC. And but yeah, it's exciting. It's just exciting to see where this category is going. Oh, and also it's black. You know, I can't use white tech. It's just,
Disgusting.
you know, the Asus.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Asus ROG just gets scuffed. It's got grey marks on it now from, I don't know, just the paint or whatever. But I suppose like the trade-off with black is like it can get dusty or smudged or whatever. I just prefer black tech. Like my Xbox is black, my laptop's black. But it's just exciting to see this category blow up. But I kind of want Microsoft to make their own still, personally.
And maybe they will one day. Maybe they
maybe.
will. We have let's see. We have Chris saying, how much support do you think Starfield will receive? Will it be story expansions or Cyberpunk level updates with overhauled features? Well, we already know of at least one story expansion, Shattered Sea, which they've already announced came with the premium edition. So we know we get at least one story expansion. But as after that, I don't know. We do know that they're going to be working on Elder Scrolls at some point. We don't know how far away it is. Although I think Phil mentioned they don't, kind of like, the game, we're not even sure what platforms it's going to be on because the game's like 5+ years away. Like, I don't expect Elder Scrolls until like 2029. So I don't know how much updates are we going to see with Starfield. Are they going to overhaul it like they did Cyberpunk, or are they just really going to more work on story expansions, Jez?
You mean for Starfield? Sorry.
Yeah, Starfield. That's what Chris said. Starfield. Is Starfield going to receive story expansions or more meaty updates?
I honestly don't know. I mean, we know there is an expansion coming. We know that from, it's called Shattered Space.
Right.
We don't know what it's about
yet. Just repeating what I said.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was a little bit distracted for a second.
Yeah.
But we don't know what it's about. We don't know, how big it is even, and that kind of stuff. I expect it'll probably be the same as Fallout 4's update cycle. So they did like some fairly big updates for Fallout 4, which were like, major expansions, like Far Harbor and stuff, which were pretty popular from what I've heard. I haven't played it myself. One of the things I'm looking forward to actually is playing Fallout 4.
Next gen update.
The next gen update with all the content and all that kind of stuff. But then they also did like these smaller little updates for Fallout 4. Like, there's an expansion about making your own mech, I think, and I don't know if that was a big expansion or just sort of a smaller kind of update. And I think for Skyrim they also did like a housing update where they added housing, which wasn't necessarily part of an expansion, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. So maybe there'll be bigger expansions, and then that are more story oriented, and then there'll be like these sort of smaller updates that add major gameplay features to it, or maybe incorporate mods. We know that like they're obviously working on bringing creation kit to the game for Xbox as well, so that'll bring some of the mods across, and also that'll add a load of content to the game potentially. I'm holding out for a gore mod.
Yeah,
A
of course,
vehicle mod,
of
maybe.
course, you're holding out for a gore mod.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe they'll. I want them to add vehicles, man. I'm like, it's lame having to walk on foot like 1,000 kilometers to get to a point of interest. Just give me a hovercraft or something, or what? Maybe let me ride on Vasco's back, for God's sake. I don't know.
Munter Yoshi says, "Fun question: can you play Game Pass on the PS5 browser?" I don't think so. I don't think you can. I'm not sure, but my first thought is no. Somebody in chat will correct us if we're wrong. So James Wiseau says, console warring is so dumb. Why can't I just enjoy playing a game without 1,000 people telling me I can't and shouldn't enjoy it? Just let me be a nerd and enjoy my hobby. Glad you're feeling better, Jez. Yeah, I see a lot of people interjecting their opinions when people post on social media about how much they're enjoying Starfield. You inevitably get somebody that's like, game's mid, or it's game sucks, it's loading field or whatever. And it's like, I couldn't imagine being that person and trying to intrude on someone else's enjoyment about anything, not only video games, but like they're enjoying a TV series that you wouldn't like, or maybe they enjoy music that you don't particularly care for, or a book series that you don't like. It's like, hey, I really enjoy this, and then you just come in there like, it sucks. Why would you like that? I just couldn't imagine like the thought process going into of like actually being that person. Like let people enjoy the things they enjoy.
I don't troll Rand for liking Taylor Swift.
Hey man, I let him whatever. I'll freely admit I love me some Taylor Swift. I don't care.
I was joking.
I'm man enough to. Okay. I'm man enough to admit it. I'm man enough to admit it. It's a guilty pleasure of mine.
Can you sing us a Taylor Swift song?
I mean, I could, but I'm not going to.
Oh, come on, man. Will you sing us Taylor Swift when you get 100,000 subscribers?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Oh, come on. We
dude, don't. Dude, why? Dude, Colt loves Taylor Swift as well. Stop hating on Taylor.
Really?
Oh yeah, we're Swifties, bro. We're
Colt's
Swifties.
a guitar. I thought Carl had good taste. The dude plays guitar.
I know he does. Frank F says, "What do you think so far about the season of Wheel of Time?" It's better than last season, but it's still not great in my opinion. We'll see. We'll see what it does. We'll see how the season ends. It's better for sure, but I'm not. I don't know. I'm not like greatly enjoying it or anything. We have a question here from Dead Planet. Thoughts on this? Xbox games are hitting their stride now, but they arguably won't have another Zeitgeist game until Mayish of 24. Avowed and Hellblade 2. Well, I would even argue when you talk about a Zeitgeist game, that's not going to be Avowed or Hellblade 2. Like Starfield is in the Zeitgeist, right? Clearly. Selling Xbox consoles, selling Game Pass subscriptions. I mean, we'll talk about the numbers, but putting up bombastic numbers. Avowed is not going to do that at all. And I would be willing to bet. Avowed is not going to do that whatsoever.
Let's face it, Rand. Your predictions about how popular games are going to be aren't always.
Are we really delving into this? Because I got people on my side that said I won that bet.
No, you said Starfield would have 1 million concurrent players on Steam.
Wait, let's talk. We'll talk about that in a minute. Let's answer Dead Planet's question.
Okay.
Do you think Avowed and Hellblade 2 will be in a Zeitgeist game like Starfield is a Zeitgeist game?
Not on the same level.
Well, clearly, no.
I think there's an opportunity if Avowed sort of drops in the right place in the calendar year, and it has some memeable stuff like Baldur's Gate 3's bare sex scene. Maybe then, you know. But I don't know. I wouldn't write it off yet. It could be bigger than you think.
I mean, I guess it depends on are there tiers of zeitgeist? The thing is, Starfield is like the biggest Xbox game. I just don't see either Avowed or Hellblade 2 matching that level. Not saying that Hellblade 2 won't be as good as Starfield. I'm talking about like the social media talk, the level of discourse that we've seen, how it's permeated into normies. I know people who finally bought an Xbox to play Starfield, right? Who are finally talking about Xbox now because they finally have something that they feel is worthy to talk about.
I need to ask my uncle how he's getting on with that, actually.
So, I don't know. I mean, we've mentioned before, I think I even asked the people last week, like, what's the next big Xbox game? And on this level of Starfield, and I think Paris said it should be, but he doesn't know if it will be, but he said it should be Fable. Fable should be that next big Starfield level S experience for Xbox. And I sort of agree with him. I think they put a lot of money into that game, and they have a really premier studio making it. It's a return of a beloved IP. Like, Fable should be absolutely massive. Right? Obviously, you could always point to Elder Scrolls 6 in 2029, but if you're talking about this gen, and you're looking at the games yet to be announced, I think Fable's bigger than all of them, essentially. Like, I think Fable's the next biggest Xbox first-party game. I mean,
I think like that. I think to really hit the zeitgeist with core gamers these days, there has to be a nostalgia component. Like, for example, nostalgia component with Baldur's Gate is the fact that it's Baldur's Gate, but also that it's Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons has become absolutely massive and mainstream in recent years because of stuff like Critical Role and the movies and all that kind of stuff. So like you you have to imagine when how big Starfield's been, like the thirst from people who like been waiting for Elder Scrolls or a new Fallout. Imagine what Elder Scrolls 6 is gonna look like, man. Like if they really nail it and they like really upgrade the engine and really take to heart some of the feedback people have been giving about NPCs, interactions, and that kind of stuff. Like that game could be like huge. But in terms of the next Zeitgeist game, like Fable has that nostalgia factor to some degree. Like it's an established IP. It is heavily associated with Xbox, similarly to Halo and Gears. And if it's really good, hopefully it turns out to be good and funny and delightful. Hopefully, yeah, it could be the next sort of zeitgeist kind of game. Have we defined a term?
No.
We started using zeitgeist game. I never heard anyone else do it before we did.
I don't know. So we're trendsetters?
Yeah, we're trendsetters. I don't know. Maybe I'm making things up in my head. But yeah, I don't know.
We have Ladays saying, what sells more, Starfield or Mortal Kombat? Well, sells probably Mortal Kombat. Who have more players? Probably Starfield. Joshua says, I don't know how hot a take this is, but I personally really like Sarah as somebody playing a good character. I loved her loyalty quest, and I really had a great time with her. I seem to be in the minority, though. I mean, I doubt it. I think most people probably stay with Sarah. I went with Sarah.
Oh, you mean the
companion? I changed it up to Sam Coe because I wanted Adam Jensen. In my
I hate
game.
all of them, man. I don't use any of them.
Yeah, I know you don't, but I'm not sure many people play the way you play. It'd be interesting.
It sucks because I feel like I'm missing out on content because they all come with companion quests.
Yes, they all do.
If you do, so like I feel like I'm missing out on content by not being a goody two shoes for them.
Well, then go be a goody two shoes, bro.
But she's so posh, man, Sarah.
Yeah, so
she is so posh. It's just too posh, man. It's too posh. And you've got Sam Coe, who's like, yeah, I'm a cowboy, but I'm also a massive softie. But by the way, he's my annoying kid every 5 seconds.
I didn't ask for this.
Yeah, I didn't ask for this. Andrea's like the only one
What
that I
about
can
Barrett?
tolerate. Barrett's all right, but he's still soft. Like he acts cool and tough, but then, oh no, if you steal like a random item, GG.
Dual Artist says there are suits and helmets you can get with the camouflage chameleon feature, Jez. Yeah, he knows that.
Yeah,
we do.
I do have a suit with chameleon, but I just think the base stealth skill could have been a little bit better for how I don't.
Ralph Wiggum, our buddy, says, "Welcome back, Jez. Glad you survived. Hope everyone has a good gaming weekend, whatever you play. Having a drink for the burning bodies I had Lynn made me burn. Yeah, me too. Those damn burning bodies." Meat Puppet says, "Just an FYI, with an F key, I believe, or L bumper on the Xbox, if you want to fast travel without the start menu, and there is a helmet in a suit that makes you invisible like the Predator." Indeed. Silas, does BGS need to farm out one of their 3 IPs like Fallout, so we aren't waiting 15 years for a Starfield 2? Can a new IP wait that long for a sequel? Does Starfield need a sequel? Is the question.
It's a very philosophical, kind of scary question.
I mean, like you know,
Fallout not having a sequel even on the horizon has to be one of the biggest misses of the Xbox's acquisition of ZeniMax. You know, and I know Fallout 76 is doing well, still trucking along. A lot of people really like that game. But
well, how's that a miss on Xbox when they acquired them and there just wasn't a Fallout game in development? It's not.
Well, I mean, there needs to be some kind of. Yeah, it's not their fault, but I would have been like, the first thing I would have done is be like, okay, where's Fallout 5? Oh, there's no studio to make it. Okay, we'll spin up a studio to make Fallout 5. How will we spin a studio to make Fallout 5? We'll hire every goddamn modder who worked on Fallout 4 to make a Fallout 5. You know, and then some random writers, and then boom, there you go, job done. Man, I could be a studio producer.
But Todd don't want that though. Todd don't want that.
It's that easy.
Todd and Phil are besties, bro. Todd doesn't want some just bunch of randos making Fallout 5.
I'll do it then. Me and Todd are bros, man. I met him for 30 seconds at Gamescom. Me and Todd tight crazy.
I mean, he knew the podcast. Apparently, Todd Howard listens to the show.
Yeah, apparently, and he knew you by name, man. He knew you by name.
Maybe he's been briefed on Xbox personalities to be like, oh, here's Jez. Oh, he does a podcast with Rand. Not like he actually listens to it or anything, right?
I don't know. But well, dude, I can barely remember like the something that happened 2 minutes ago. Do you really think he'd like remember your name?
I don't know.
He'd just been briefed on it for 5 minutes. But then again, maybe some people are just geniuses like that and they just remember everything. I don't know. But anyway, I should write Fallout 5. And you know what I'd do? It'd be set in London. It'd be Fallout.
Well, maybe we'll get a Fallout New Vegas 2 from Obsidian at some point before Fallout 5 to whet your appetite, right?
People keep saying New Vegas 2, man. I don't want New Vegas 2.
Well, what do you want?
I want it to be set in somewhere else. Like, there's never been a. We don't need 2 games in New Vegas.
I'm just saying Fallout New Vegas 2 as like Obsidian making a Fallout game. Not that it would actually be Fallout New Vegas 2.
I'll call it Fallout 5 at that
Fallout
point.
Chicago. Let's do it. You know what I mean?
Fallout London, man. They should do Fallout Britain. They should definitely do Fallout
I'm just
Britain.
like the way it's falling,
That'd
it looks
so
like
funny.
Elder Scrolls 6 will be 2029, and then Fallout 5 will be 2034. Right, 2035. I'm sure at some point you'll get an Obsidian game in the Fallout universe before then. That's just how long these games take now, you know? And I'm sorry, Jez. I'm sorry, Maddie, that you're not going to get your Fallout fix. Stanley says, Jez, be honest. What game did you enjoy more, Baldur's Gate 3 or Starfield?
Starfield.
There you go.
It's so strange, like to really describe enjoyment in that context, because I enjoy them in very, very different ways. Like, I think overall, I'd say Starfield's given me more of those, oh my god, this is incredible kind of gameplay moments. But Baldur's Gate's not that kind of game, kind of like where you do something crazy with the physics, or you know, like the combat is very sort of it's not that kind of combat, you know. It's not exciting, spectacular combat, you know. There's some really funny moments in Baldur's Gate 3 where you know you're fighting a boss and then like you blast them off an edge using Eldritch Blast or something, and they go flying off, and he's like, "Oh wow, I just beat a boss by knocking him off a cliff or something." But it's not the same as like the spectacularness of fighting a bunch of spaces in zero gravity, where like your shotgun makes them blast against the wall and ragdoll all over the place. There's just something about it that's so spectacular, man. But I enjoy them in different ways. But I think overall it's probably Starfield.
Right. Alvin says, I understand I'm in the minority here, but I'm still stunned every time I hear someone say the game starts slow. Took me 5 hours to get to New Atlantis. I mean,
Wow, 5 hours?
that's a long time to get to New Atlantis.
I suppose like if you surveyed in Vectera before going, maybe.
Yeah.
Surveying takes so damn long.
Thaneros says, okay, I'm 4 hours in. I'm still waiting for the game to get good. Having a player play 4 hours to get good is asking a lot. Indeed, it is.
It is.
But
And I had this debate. I had this debate with someone recently. I can't remember who it was now, but we were having a back and forth about this whole concept of like, oh, the game gets good after 10 hours or 20 hours or whatever. I remember like people saying that to me about Persona 5 and like Dragon Quest and stuff, and they're like, oh, it gets really good after 30 hours. Or it really gets going after 50 hours and shit like that. Like it's almost a meme with some JRPGs, you know. But I completely appreciate that. Like, oh, actually, I do remember who it was. But I can't say who it was. But uh, I think it's completely valid. You know, if like if the game doesn't start getting good for you quick enough, I think it's valid to say, well, I'm just never going to get into it. I shouldn't have to invest XYZ to get out of it, especially if you're someone who's time constrained, you know. So, and I think that's completely fine. I think that's completely valid. Like sometimes I'll be like, I don't want to invest 2 hours in a gaming session. I just want to have a quick 20-minute razz on Overwatch or something. You know, different strokes for different folks, right? But that doesn't mean Starfield's bad. I think it just means it's not for you, and that's okay.
Yeah, so like in the book community, people talk about certain book series that are like, all you have to do is reach book 10 and then it becomes really good. And it's like, oh, so I have to read
book series is like that.
I mean, people talk about like Dresden Files being something like that, where like if it really shows its promise in like book 12 or something. Or like they'll say, just read the first 5 books, just get through the first 5 books. Right? And you're just like, bro, 5 books, that's like what? You know, it's like, what do you mean? Like, just, and like, you know, even with Wheel of Time, where it's like, yeah, Wheel of Time's worth it. I always have to mention, like, there is a stretch in Wheel of Time where, like, there are 2 or 3 books that are not very good. And it's like, these are lengthy books. It's just funny. It was just like, you know, because I remember, like, the talk around Final Fantasy 13 when it came out. It was like Final Fantasy 13 finally gets good 20 hours in, and it does, and it did. 20 hours is a long time to spend to something to hope it actually will finally click with you, right? But I mean, it's interesting because Alvin says, you know, he's in the minority, and like he's loving the game already, and it took him 5 hours to get New Atlantis, and Thaneros is like, I'm playing 4 hours, and I'm waiting for this game to get good. So you have the two people there with the opposing viewpoints, so... Chinook Guy says, did you know that Bethesda games are niche? Apparently they are. I guess if they're niche, everything's niche. Corey says, Diablo 4 will be great once they add gear sets, and the craziest thing I've read is that Starfield is shallow. That's a wild take. Are we playing the same game? Yeah, Starfield is shallow. I don't know if I agree with that very much. Joshua says...
I think people who say Starfield is shallow didn't put enough into it, I think. And it comes back to the argument of like, how much should you have to put in before you stop feeling like it's shallow? But I don't know how you can get to the end of some of these quests, or even the start of some of them. Like the UC Vanguard quest gets going pretty damn quick.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can experience some of these set pieces and call it shallow.
Well, I think for some people, maybe like the UC Vanguard quest is buried, and all their like activities and stuff they've picked up. So like they're going to do other things and they don't actually see the UC Vanguard, or maybe they didn't they didn't get to the part where it adds it to the quest log, so they,
You know what? I think Starfield will be, after all this discourse blows over and shit, I think people will I think history will be kinder to Starfield than this discourse has been. I think people will look back on Starfield and be like, you know what? Actually, we were wrong. It was a really good game. And it wasn't just fanboyism, or it wasn't just, hype or whatever. It actually was a really good game with really deep stuff and some good, almost uncomfortable philosophies buried within it, But yeah, discourse being discourse. Right now, the benefit is negativity.
Yeah, Joshua says, could we see a console mod to uncap the frame rate? I mean, they eventually did that for Fallout 4 on console. There was a mod that you could do that would unlock the frame rate. Maybe it's certainly possible that we see one for Starfield, right? Maybe get 60 frames on the Series X through a mod, although they disable achievements or whatever. But an achievement says, could we get an ultra-wide handheld? What do you think about that? Ultra-wide.
Ultra-wide handheld? Yeah. Damn. Well, I don't think so, because most games, well, not most games, but a lot of games don't support ultra-wide natively. And I think they'd want to cater to the lowest common denominator, which is 16:9. So I don't see ultra-wide being a thing, frankly.
Yeah.
Could be wrong.
So, yeah, Starfield broke some records. Phil Spencer came out on Twitter on Wednesday, Jez, and said that. Let me see. Let me get his tweet here, because this started a whole bunch of debates about wording and what the word concurrent means, because people are confused. Phil Spencer tweeted Wednesday that Starfield exceeded 1 million concurrent players across all platforms today. Thanks to all the players who helped us reach this great milestone, and congrats to Bethesda Studios. Now, this is where people said that I won our bet. And it's like, of course. Did you expect me to lose this bet? So, Jazz, you owe me $10. 1 million concurrent, $10,
you said
please.
1 million
concurrent.
No.
I said 1 million concurrent, bro. There's no record of this,
bro. No, there's a record of this.
No, there's a record. There's no record. You haven't found it. I said 1 million concurrent, and it hit it on Wednesday.
Lies. Well, anyway, you're wrong, and you owe me $10. But what? Even still, 1 million concurrent players is pretty spectacular. That's a lot of people playing, and I think they said they've reached 6 million players.
Well, yeah. Then the next day they put out a tweet that said, "Let me find it really quickly." As of this morning, Starfield has already surpassed 6 million players, making it the biggest Bethesda game launch of all time. And that also has been debated. So you have about this whole thing of 1 million, right? People are like, only 1 million people played it, when it's like 1 million concurrent, which means it's way more than 1 million, right? We saw the numbers on Steam. I think it's got as high as 280K maybe, although the weekends is going to be here. Probably hit its high on it'll probably hit its high tomorrow, Saturday. Although it won't go as high as I thought. I thought it was like, hey, I thought 1 million easy. You were a little bit like, no way it even does over 300K. And it sounds like it
on Steam
might not, just on Steam by itself. But then I was thinking like, well, I wonder how many people are playing on PC Game Pass. Maybe I underestimated the impact PC Game Pass would have versus like how many people would play on Steam,
I think like this game has been heavily marketed against PC Game Pass, and I think like there's still enough people who are new to PC Game Pass that I thought it would make a pretty big dent in the Steam user base. So yeah, I'm just completely right. I'm a genius.
You're right this one time. Most of the time you're not, and most of the time when we bet, I win. So
No, that's not true.
that is very true. I mean,
That's not true.
hey,
Not
did
true.
you also see that poor soul that died because they ate the hot chip challenge?
Yeah, I couldn't believe that.
And you were like, "Oh, they
There's
wouldn't
still
sell
haven't been a
something on
push for it.
Amazon that would kill you." Well, I guess that's
Yeah, I literally said that to you because you were like, people were saying to me like, you can die from taking the one chip challenge, and I was like, they wouldn't sell something on Amazon that can kill you. Turns out I was completely wrong about that. But it does say on the box, don't have it if you're a kid, right? It's for adults only or whatever. But that's just awful, man. They've pulled them from sale now. Those one chip challenge thingies. Like,
well, yeah. So
it freaks me out because Hoggy was like,
I know, yeah.
had the stomach pain because apparently the kid had the stomach pain,
And you were trying to get me to do this for charity, and I was absolutely not. I ain't doing this for charity. Hell no. Absolutely
apparently
not.
the people in chat saying the kid ate multiple chips.
Well, maybe that's the problem. Multiple chips. But either way,
He ate 16?
well, okay, well, you probably shouldn't eat 16 of them.
Jeez. That is crazy if that's true. I don't know, man. Like one chip was enough for me. 16? I can't imagine it, man. But yeah, people do crazy stuff for social media.
They do. So we had 1 million concurrent, which is pretty damn good. Although people were like, "Oh, is that really that high? It seems like downplaying the number."
Yeah.
And then the next day they had 6 million, which they say is Bethesda's biggest game launch ever. And then people bring up Fallout 4. Well, how's that possible? Xbox and Bethesda are lying. They're a bunch of liars because Fallout 4, we know from back then, had shipped 12 million shipped in, which you get into like what shipped in and sold in, the differences between the two. That Fallout 4 had shipped 12 million copies to retail in the first week. But the thing is, they didn't sell 12 million copies the first week. In fact, I think it was something like they only sold like around 5 million the first week, which would make the 6 million, well, only, but it would make the 6 million actually true, that it is their biggest game launch. More people played it, but people love bringing up that 12 million number. That it was like, how's this true? They shipped 12 million in 1 week. Well, it's like, yeah, they did, but they didn't sell 12 million in 1 week. So, but I mean, this number, Jez, 6 million in a week, millions of people that paid for early access, either way, with the $100 or the Game Pass upgrade. Has Starfield done the numbers that you think Xbox needed it to do? And how do you view the numbers? The 1 million concurrent, the 6 million in essentially a week, early access in like 1 day of actual release. What do those numbers mean to you?
The people that I've been speaking to about it behind the scenes, they're pretty upbeat about it. Actually on the cloud side as well. And this is funny because they don't talk about cloud at all these days because of the court case. But apparently this game's doing really well on cloud and was specifically optimized for cloud. And the fact that it's 30 frames per second as well, like locked at 30 frames per second, also has benefits for video encoding for cloud and latency and stuff like that. So, like, apparently it's doing really well on cloud, and a lot of people are playing it from their Xbox One via cloud. So I don't know if the court case wasn't going on, Microsoft would probably be talking about how this is the most popular game on cloud or something like that. Because another thing that I've noticed about Starfield marketing is that like Samsung are marketing it and they're being like, oh, you can play Starfield on our TVs without an Xbox. When I turn my TV on, there's a Starfield ad on the screen. Which is like mildly irritating that my TV has ads built into the operating system for one thing. But it's also like, I wonder how many people are seeing that ad and they're like, oh, I've heard about that game on BBC. Maybe I'm just going to click through on that on my remote and then pick up a Game Pass trial and then whatever, There are queues as well for cloud right now, but does it do as well as Microsoft would have hoped? I mean, I would hope so. I don't think Microsoft will be like screaming from the rooftops about the amount of players the game has if they weren't pleased or proud of those numbers.
Right.
Satya Nadella also tweeted about it. recently, also mentioning cloud. He loves cloud, that guy. Satya also loves the cloud stuff. Um, and but I suppose the real question is like, are those
Longevity.
people, yeah, are those people who subscribe to PC Game Pass or indeed Game Pass Ultimate on their TVs to play the game or got a trial, or did they get rid of the trial? I
They
can't
got rid of the
remember.
trial. They got rid of
Okay.
the $1 trial before Starfield came out. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, if the people who've signed up for Game Pass, however they've signed up for it, are they going to stick around after the month's up? Are they going to stick around to play Starfield? Are they going to buy a copy of Starfield after the fact with the discount or whatever? Because I signed up for PlayStation Plus recently to test it out because I was planning to write an article comparing xCloud to PlayStation Plus in terms of latency speed and make a video about that kind of stuff and sort of analyze it. And I I actually never got around to it in the end, but I forgot to unsubscribe, and now I've been subscribed for like 3 months,
Jez,
and I
what are you
keep
doing? Cancel.
yeah I'm one of those kind of people who just keeps forgetting to unsubscribe. Yeah, I think like a lot of people do that. I think when they're subscribed for a subscription service, a lot of people just forget to unsubscribe a lot of the time. And I often wonder, like, how many people signed up for Xbox Live Gold back in the 360 days, and they're still signed up for it, even though they haven't played Xbox for God knows how long. But anyway, um, yeah, I'm intrigued to see like what this has on the long-term impact of Xbox Game Pass and PC Game Pass, especially because one thing that I'm going to write about this weekend actually is just before Starfield shipped, they pushed a massive update to the PC Game Pass app.
Mm-hmm.
And they made it way faster, way smoother. It looks a lot better. They removed some of the crap, like the community tab, which was pointless. They moved the chat panel down to the bottom of the screen, to similarly to Steam and Battle.net. And they actually added like a Starfield style on it when you open the app. It has like this Starfield sort of art on the splash screen, which looks really nice. They've really done a great job with the app. Like I'm someone, if someone who's been listening to this podcast for a long time, I am someone who's been very vocally critical of the PC Game Pass app for a long time. And this update felt like, yeah, if you are introducing people to your app for the first time, you kind of want it to be in the best possible state that you can make it. And they did a pretty good job. You know, they've done a really good job. And I put a thread up on Twitter, like, have you had any issues with the PC Game Pass app? People have been saying, like, nope, runs really well, haven't had any issues installing stuff. I had an issue installing Starfield with it, funnily enough. I was trying to install Starfield with it, and the download got stuck. And I was like, why isn't this working? Why won't it download? Oh my God, I can't believe it. Once again, this stupid app has screwed my life over. But then I realized it's because my hard drive was full or close to being full. But the app didn't tell me that. It didn't tell me that. It just said something has gone wrong. That's what the app said. Something has gone wrong. It didn't tell me why it wasn't downloading, whereas Steam would have told me and other apps would have told me. So I still think its error reporting stuff needs to be improved. Because I had to figure that out myself. Why isn't this downloading? Oh, okay, my hard drive doesn't have enough space. And I think sometimes it does tell you if you don't have enough space, but for some reason it didn't tell me at that particular instance. But anyway, they've done a great job with it. But I suppose the question is, will people stick around? And I suppose like Microsoft will have to push like Lies of P at the end of this month very heavily.
And Payday and Forza Motorsport, right?
Yeah.
All the games that are coming. Yeah. They can't let up,
They've got,
essentially.
like,
City Skylines. Right?
Yeah, they can't let up. If you go on the app now and you look at it, like, it does say Lies of P pre-install. That is the number one thing on there. And then there's like a whole load of tabs about Starfield, and then it's got like recently added games, like Sea of Stars up there, Limbo's up there.
But Sea of Stars
Like,
is doing
2's
really
up there.
well. 250,000 units sold. I think they did in a week.
Yeah.
It's
And
reviewing very
that's
well. I
bag.
think it's like 92 on Metacritic. Could be a dark horse for Game of the Year nomination, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Possibly. People loving that game.
Yeah. Yeah, true. It's doing really, really well, and also they took the Game Pass and the PlayStation Plus bag, so hopefully it was worth it for them.
I think I
But
think I think it's a I think it I think it's a I think it's a pretty good number. I think it probably exceeded their expectations of what it was going to do. 1 million concurrent is pretty damn high when you factor in okay, it's on Steam and we saw what the numbers it was doing on Steam, like anywhere between 250K to 300K, which means 1 million or more than 1 million. So how many people? So is Xbox like the platform, the console, the one that's going to have the most players for Starfield, right? Because if it's only doing 250 at the time on Steam, that means there's another at least 750,000 plus players. Does that mean Starfield's biggest base is on console at this point because of Game Pass? And what is PC Game Pass? I'm sure it's doing. And then 6 million essentially in a week, where early access started that Thursday. They announced it a week later, 6 million. The game had only been available for really a day to everybody that Wednesday. So I'm curious if we get another update after the weekend's over, right? Like how many people played it today, finally getting home, a long week of work. Let me play Starfield Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then do we get an update if it hits 10 million next week or something, right? And what is the trajectory? Because you have Forza Horizon 5 as a comparison, where Forza Horizon 5 did a lot of numbers in early access. And then, because you could see how many people were playing the game because of the leaderboard positions and how quickly Forza Horizon 5 was able to get to 5 million, 10 million, 15 million, 20 million. I think it's up to like 32 million now. Now, the question is Starfield going to be played by 32 million? Is Starfield have a wider demographic than Forza Horizon does? And that's kind of the question. Like, is Starfield going to continue to essentially be played, and not only that, be played by more people? Or are we looking at like Forza Horizon essentially being the biggest Xbox game just by sheer number of users? So I think
it's outside of Minecraft anyway.
Well, outside of Minecraft, yes, obviously nothing touches Minecraft. But no, I think 6 million that time frame is pretty damn good. And we'll see if they continue to announce milestones, like if it hits 10 and if it hits 15 and stuff. Because the holiday, also the holidays coming.
Holidays are coming.
So it's like how many people are going to pick up an Xbox and to play Starfield later this year? They might own ABK by the end of the holiday, right? So there's a lot of things swing in their favor. So I think that number is pretty good. It's just like you have to continue it, right? And this thing with Game Pass, it's like, you're right. How many people are going to subscribe for it to play Starfield, and then once they're done with Starfield, just unsubscribe? But maybe there's a ton of people like you that are just subscribed and they forget about it. Or like, hey, they see, hey, Liza P, I'm going to play that. Forza, I'm going to play that. City Skylines, I'll play that, So we'll see how it all plays out. But I don't know. I think that number is really good. So yeah, I wonder. I just wonder how quickly it's gonna hit 10, and what the comparison is.
I think it'll probably end up being similar to Fallout 4. I don't think it'll have the sort of massiveness of Skyrim. I don't think it has maybe the broad appeal of Elder Scrolls, the fantasy or whatever.
I mean, it may not.
But I think it'll sort of taper off and end up being similar in numbers to Fallout, but I think it just bodes well for Elder Scrolls, because clearly the appetite for Bethesda games is still very strong, even despite the background negativity going on. People still cut through that, and people still discover the game that they end up loving. There's still like 100. There's more people watching Starfield streams than Counter-Strike right now on Twitch. Then that'll drop off over time, but it's still pretty impressive. There's more people watching Starfield than World of Warcraft right now.
Yeah. Todd Howard even said that Starfield's Xbox exclusivity yielded a better product, and I saw a couple outlets say they don't believe that. Todd's lying. but are certainly will believe Yoshi P when he says, you know, Final Fantasy 16 was helped out by PS5 exclusivity, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
of course, exclusivity helps
of
because
course.
you can use the budget to optimize. You know,
Well, yeah.
I think Final Fantasy being exclusive helped Final Fantasy, and Starfield helped.
When
It's helped by
Todd
being
said in the interview, when you're making something exclusive, then the more you can focus. You know, this is the hardware, the thing people are playing on, so the ability to focus on that always yields a better product. You do want people to be able to access it, of course, but being with Xbox means there's an ease of access for us, and I'm told we're expecting more people playing this launch than anything we've ever done before, and that's despite the success of our previous games. I do also think people attach brands to certain games. When you think of Zelda, you think of the Switch, and I think there are times when that can be a real benefit. So like maybe you think Xbox, you think Starfield. Obviously, when you think Xbox, you think Halo and Gears. You know, I obviously in the future, I think Xbox would love you to like think Xbox and think Starfield, Elder Scrolls, Fallout, right? Call of Duty, to add to that, but. No, I don't think he's blind. I mean, we've heard this consistently from people that do exclusive games about how it's much easier just focusing on one set of hardware instead of a whole bunch of stuff, and how you seem to get more marketing compared to other games, and it's just like a bigger excitement around the game. So yeah, 100% believe that, right? And it clearly shows just in like the delays. Like, would Bethesda have been able to delay the game as much as they did if they weren't part of Xbox? Like if they were still independent? I bet you if they were still independent, that game probably comes out in 2022 when it was supposed to, or even, you know, when it maybe in 2021. And is it a better experience? I think it's a better experience because they're with Xbox. They were able to delay the game. And people talk about how like this is their best performing game. This is the one with the least amount of bugs, even though there are some bugs. But just imagine what Starfield would have. I mean, even when we saw it at both E3s in 2021 and 2022, people were like, hey, this doesn't look very good. It doesn't run very good. The gunplay kind of looks janky, right? We had talked about that. It was like, yeah. But then a year later, we saw it and was like, wow, this looks much better. The gunplay looks a lot better. It seems to be much smoother. So in that year, they were able to get the time they needed to squash all the bugs and fix the things that need to be fixing. And that only comes with being under a team that allows you to be able to do that. I'm sure Xbox would have loved to have Starfield out for 2022, right? Because that was when people stopped buying Xboxes as much as they were. And Xbox, you know, they didn't really have any games last year. So I'm absolutely sure they would have loved to have Starfield released that holiday. Because it would have sold consoles. And people would have been like, all right, at least we got Starfield. But they did right by the game by delaying it so it could be a better product. Because I'm just like, you look at it, what it got right now at like an 85, 86, 87, 88, whatever it's at. I just imagine launching last year and it also having more bugs and not being as polished or whatever. You're probably looking at essentially, you know, an even lower score because it would have been rougher. So, yeah, the acquisition definitely helped. Jez, we did have the super chat about Switch 2. You wanna take your celebratory lap and just say how right you were and how nobody respects you in the San Francisco journal bubble? Jez? Oh, Jez is muted. So,
oh, I was muted. Sorry.
yeah. Switch 2 stuff.
Switch 2. Yeah, I could hear you. I just couldn't speak. Yeah, it's hilarious because, to be fair, they probably didn't see my tweet because I only tweeted it out. I didn't make a report because we don't cover Nintendo.
No, people saw it, bro. People saw it because it was all over websites. It was covered. It was on forums and stuff. They saw your tweet.
Well, I don't know. But they didn't believe me. They just thought I don't know. It wasn't a real thing. But then Eurogamer came out with their report, and then VGC corroborated the report. Nobody, of course, mentioned my report except for Insider Gaming. Good old Tom Henderson. good chap there is the only one who covered it. And he corroborated my report when I reported it back in late August. But it sounds pretty interesting. It sounds like it's a pretty powerful device. I think VGC initially reported that they had the Matrix demo running on it.
Yeah.
But then they removed that part of their report. So I don't know if
Well, that would imply that the Switch is a pretty beefy handheld if it can run the Matrix demo, right?
I mean, yeah, if it's true, but they removed that section of the report, so now we don't know how true it is. But it's kind of like, what chip is it running? You know, you don't really know the benchmarks yet, stuff like that. Is it going to be on par with the Asus ROG Ally and the sort of Z1 Extreme Phoenix chips that this new generation of PC gaming handhelds are running? You know, is this like, and how expensive is this thing going to be? Like, if it's like on par with the Asus ROG Ally, and then it's like hundreds of dollars cheaper, that's a pretty big win, you know, and kind of like potentially puts it ahead of the Xbox Series S for power. So I feel like the Asus ROG Ally is a fair bit more powerful than the Xbox Series S. You know, I don't really like fully understand the technical capabilities of stuff, but my Asus ROG Ally can run Starfield at 60 frames a second, you know. And yeah, I think I lose some of the global illumination and stuff like that, and some of the more nitty gritty effects processing, but it runs the game at 60 frames a second, like or like close to it, like 40 or 50 frames a second, not 30 frames a second. I haven't done a proper benchmark on it or a proper look at it yet, but it runs it pretty damn well. What better than the Xbox Series S? So, I mean, but I suppose there's a lot of unanswered questions about the Switch 2. Will it have full blown backwards compatibility?
I think it will. I think it will.
Yeah. I mean, will it have like, you know, a good launch lineup? Is it going to get the sort of the AAA support from, you know, that Xbox One and PlayStation 5 enjoy right now?
There was even a rumor that there was like Square had a Final Fantasy VII Remake running on it or something.
Yeah, I mean, Final Fantasy VII Remake runs at 60 frames on my Asus ROG Ally, completely fine. So,
it would be a very interesting shakeup if the Switch 2 was powerful enough to run the AAA games that PS5 and Series X enjoy. Because when you look at the current lineup, and we know from, you know, stats from NPD and like the Xbox trial, like it's something like 60% of the people that own a PS5 and Xbox also own a Switch, right? It's like they have a Switch to play the Nintendo games and some of the indies, but they also have the other consoles because you can't play some of the big games on them, right? They just can't work on the Switch. So I'm kind of curious to see, like, one, is Nintendo going to chase after power when they've abandoned power in their recent systems? Like, the Switch is not powerful, and it's probably going to be up there with the best-selling consoles of all time, right? So,
I mean, it's the thing about the Switch 2, like, if it is decently powerful enough, then they've got like a huge amount of games that could be ported from
you're right.
And the
but
Xbox Series X.
But then you look at like how powerful is it? Because Nintendo's a company that doesn't lose money on their hardware, right? Like PlayStation and Xbox will put out their systems and lose money as a loss leader, and get their money back through subscriptions or game sales and stuff. But Nintendo's always been like, no, we're making profit from day one, right? So you can argue one of the Switch's factors of doing really well was this low price point, $299. But like, how powerful of a system can you build at $299 when you want to turn a profit? So it's like, okay, well, so you're looking at $399, so now you're more expensive. You look at the ROG Ally at $700, or even at the Steam Deck at $500 or whatever it is, and it's like, how powerful of a system can Nintendo build for $400, but also for $400 turning a profit? And it's like, I don't really know, but I'd be very curious if they could, because I would be very, very interested in seeing what people would do where if all the games were available on Switch 2 that are available on PS5 and Xbox. You know what I mean? Like,
this is why Xbox needs to make a handheld, bro.
Because, like, Alan Wake 2, for instance, is coming out this fall. It's not on Switch. But let's imagine a scenario where it was on Switch, and the people who own a Switch, who also own a PlayStation, like, where do you buy Alan Wake 2 now? Do you still buy it on PlayStation 5 or Xbox because maybe it does 4K and 60, and that's where you buy your games? Or do you get it on the Switch too because of the portability factor? You could play it hooked up to your TV, or you can play it in handheld mode, which is something that PlayStation or Xbox don't offer. Or I guess they offer different variations of it, like Xbox with Play Anywhere. You could maybe play those on your phone or what have you, and PlayStation is going to have the Portal where you could be tethered to a handheld. But does that change people's buying habits, essentially? You know what I mean? Does it really, like, would people switch and make all their purchases on the Switch instead of spreading it out between the other consoles? I'd be super interested in that. Also, we have Xbox's next big event happening, Jez.
Yeah, TGS.
With the Xbox digital broadcast returning.
Yeah, digital broadcast TGS. I think TGS could be pretty interesting for Xbox this year. I mean,
Phil's going to be there.
Yeah, Phil's going to be there, and Phil was on stage at the Final Fantasy event, unexpectedly, and that's kind of hopefully got to inform what we might be seeing from TGS. Like, are they gonna announce what we can expect from their renewed partnership with Square Enix? Is there actually any substance here? Are we just getting Final Fantasy 9 on Game Pass again or something like that? Or are we actually going to get something meaty? We're going to get the Pixel remasters. We're going to get Final Fantasy 7 Remake. We're going to get more than Final Fantasy 14 Realm Reborn. What are they going to do? I want to know more about this partnership, mainly coming out of TGS. But Microsoft also hired someone specifically in charge for developer relationships between Xbox and Japanese devs recently as well.
Former PlayStation CEO.
Former PlayStation.
Or not former PlayStation executive, not CEO.
Executive, yeah. So she is obviously going to have a lot of those relationships in place already that she can hopefully bring across to Xbox. So I would hope that there will be some decent amount of meat from this event, but I suppose we just have to wait and see.
Yeah. Well, here's what Xbox had to say about the Tokyo Game Show. That the Xbox digital broadcast is returning to Tokyo Game Show on September 21st at 6 p.m. JST, 9 a.m. UTC, 2 a.m. Pacific. Where it represents a special time of the year where we share news and updates on games that we hope will delight Xbox fans in Japan and across Asia. You can expect to hear progress updates from Xbox and Bethesda Softworks and see a creatively diverse selection of games from creators predominantly located in Japan and across Asia. We'll also share exciting new games coming to Game Pass, so more Game Pass announcements, which are always good, which continues to grow with great content from teams all around Asia. Xbox Tokyo Game Show always comes with a unique Japan-inspired look, and this year we have brought together some of the most famous iconography of both Xbox and Japan. They talk about some of the things they're doing there. So September 21st, which I believe that you're going to be gone, right? You're on vacation at this point in time. So that podcast I'll have to be doing with somebody else.
The 22nd, yeah. So I'll miss the podcast the 22nd. I'm going to be gone from the 18th to the 27th.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll only miss one podcast.
One of the other things I was super interested in before we get to Patreon questions is, we talked a little bit about Starfield and all the thing that goes on and how it's being, I didn't mention, but it's being review bombed on Metacritic. I don't know if you've seen that, Jez. There's like a fight going on to keep the number high or whatever, but a lot of review bombing going on. Indiana Jones was also mentioned in an interview with Todd Howard, and he basically said the game's halfway done. What do you think about
Which
that?
game's halfway now?
Indiana Jones is
Oh, Indiana
halfway
Jones.
through development.
I just want to see what it looks like, man. What kind of
Yeah,
game is it? Is it first person? Is it third person? Is it a side-scrolling platformer like Pitfall back in the day?
nah,
What is it?
yeah, true. I want to see it
I
too.
know it's not going to be side-scrolling.
But
Thing.
it's
I just want
interesting.
to see what it is.
It's interesting. He says it's halfway through development, and I'm sitting there like, what was Machine Games doing?
COVID,
Right?
man. It's COVID, bro.
Were they not doing anything, or were they helping on other projects? Because like they finished, they co-devved on Wolfenstein Youngblood. Everybody and their mother thought Wolfenstein 3 was a thing that was happening soon. In fact, we all thought it was going to be coming out in 2021 after they were like, oh, this is a game that's coming soon. And then it was nothing, just crickets. And they announced Indiana Jones, and people still hold up hope that they somehow are also working on Wolfenstein 3 and it's coming out next year, right? There's still some people who like, come on. And even me, I'm like looking at it, I'm like, man, it's halfway through development. So it's like, what? I think they announced this in 2021. So if it's halfway through, it's been 2 years, so another 2 years. So are we expecting the game to launch in 2025? I mean, seems about right. That was maybe around the time I was expecting it. I don't know, 2026 might be a little late, but it's like, man, what was Machine Games doing before that then?
Who knows, man?
I don't know. We'll see. I'm super interested. And I think Todd did say that we would hear more about the game next year. So I mean, we could easily see a new trailer for it, because we didn't really get a trailer. It was just like it was super short teaser that was announcing the game. So yeah, I mean, E3 this upcoming year, I could easily see them dropping a trailer for the Indiana Jones game, especially at that point if it's like 2 years away or a year and a half or something. Absolutely. But, that's one of the games I'm really looking forward to. Another thing that they talked about was Redfall, Jez, not being abandoned. Pete Hines talked about how they're not going to just abandon the game. They're going to make right with the fans and stuff. Do you feel like that's the correct strategy on that with Redfall? Not to walk away from it?
Man, if it was me, I'd walk away. I'd just be like, look, every studio, every artist has a dud every now and then. So I think like there's just sort of like there comes a point where sometimes you probably just have to walk away. And that would have been for me. That would have been me. I would have just been like, okay, this ain't happening. Let's just walk away.
I mean, they did say that they were going to add...
Sorry, go on.
Well, they did say they were going to add 2 characters, which they haven't yet, right? They did say they were going to add 60 frames, which they haven't yet. So I get like people being like, look, Redfall was a disaster. Just walk away from it. Put Arcane Austin on to their next thing, which I believe a lot of them are. But I mean, you still got to make good on your promises, though. Like you sold,
okay, you gotta,
$100 version with extra characters, and you said 60 frames was coming. I think you at least have to do that before you move on.
Yeah. You got to make good on your promises, sure. But like he was talking about stuff like we're gonna the game's gonna be. People will love the game in years to come.
No, they won't.
Yeah, but he was saying that that kind of suggestion.
Well, I mean, what do you expect him to say? People are gonna hate the game. Like, of course he's gonna say
But I kind of feel like that's setting an expectation that they're gonna do a little bit more work on it than simply adding the stuff they've promised. Like I feel like they've gone completely radio silent on Redfall. Which says to me they're gonna, when they do start talking about Redfall again, it's gonna be a bigger update, a bigger effort, a concerted effort to improve the game overall. But I wouldn't bother. I would put Arcane back on what they're kind of known for or good at, maybe. But like some people said that the team that made Prey just doesn't exist anymore. So I don't even know what you do at that point. But they know better than me, and we'll see what happens.
I mean, he does say here that the Elder Scrolls Online PC launch was not flawless, but we stuck with it, and now it's like an insanely popular multi-platform. It's the same with Fallout 76. Redfall is no different for us. We're going to get it to be a good game because we know as a first-party studio, Game Pass lives forever. There will be people 10 years from now who are going to join Game Pass, and Redfall will be there. I mean, he's not necessarily wrong about Fallout 76 and Elder Scrolls, but I sort of feel like Redfall being a good game is kind of like out of reach. I don't know. I mean, there's too much wrong with it.
It depends how you. It depends. Like they've done it before. They've done it with Fallout 76, and I'm sorry, but like, I know Fallout 76 is a pariah kind of game, but they really turned Fallout 76 around. Like it's actually like a really solid game now, and it's got a consistent fan base, and they've added a lot of content to it and stuff like that. Can they pull it off Fallout 76? I don't really think. I don't really think they can. Really think they can do that for Redfall, because I don't think Redfall doesn't really have the sort of the MMO-esque sort of feel that I think benefits Fallout 76. But I don't know. Maybe they can. Maybe they can pull it off. We'll see. I would love to see them do it, but we'll see.
Also, you wrote an article about this. People were getting excited because ESRB rating for Minecraft X and S versions were coming, so people thought there'd be. But then Microsoft shot that down and said, "Nope."
Nope.
Nope. So no Minecraft Xbox Series X and S versions. There is a September update out now for Xbox, Jez, where you can stream your gameplay to Discord. I believe that's available to everybody. And they're testing OneDrive, where you can upload your clips and everything to OneDrive. And I think that's helpful for you, right? I'm sure it'd be helpful for a lot of other people as well.
Yeah, my stuff is constantly full on my Xbox, so being able to automatically upload to OneDrive is great. And I feel like people have been asking for this since the Xbox One launched, and the whole clips thing. People started filling up their cloud clip allocation back then. People were asking for like, hey, why can't I just use my OneDrive? I've got a gigabyte of OneDrive, or a terabyte, sorry, of OneDrive storage, and why can't I use it? You know. So like finally we've got this long requested feature, and I'm on the Insider program. It works really well. My only issue with it is that it just dumps your files into the pictures directory or the video directory. You can't like choose a folder for them. So there's still some annoying management to do. But you know, maybe I can try and give some feedback about that. But
I mean,
it's good. It's good. Works
well. Yeah. So, I mean, that's really about it. Volition got shut down. We didn't talk about that. Kind of shady for Embracer to shut them down. Right when the review embargo hit for Starfield.
Yeah.
They're a studio that's been around for 30 years, and it's sad to see them go, because Saints Row at one point was one of my favorite franchises, and I think we're going to be entering an era where we're going to see a lot of studios close, Jez.
Yeah, I saw Me Games also shut down.
Yeah.
You know, they're not a huge name, but they made a lot of really cool games, like Desperados, which is game I really loved, and Shadow Tactics. That was also a really good game. They made these sort of real-time tactics games, which are a really rare niche kind of genre, but really fun. When you pull off some cool shit in Desperados, it feels really good. And they basically just literally just walked away, and they were just like, we can't do this anymore. The stress of it, and you know, constantly chasing financial stability is too much, and it's too much on our team and our family and stuff, and they just basically walked away. It's like really depressing to read that.
Well, like Embracer had the problems with Savvy Games walking away on their $2 billion deal, right? Vocal deal. So they needed to do some things, and Saints Row, the reboot, didn't seem to do very well. So they shut down Volition. And this is kind of what happens when you have a couple games. Like, it seems like you have one bomb now, it could be all over. right? Their last two games, you have Agents of Mayhem in 2017, and you have Saints Row Reboot in 2022, and neither of them did really well, and now they're shut down. And we've even heard that the reboot, the style of reboot that they were doing was maybe like publisher demanded from Deep Silver, and a lot of people hated like the new reboot from Volition. And it makes me worried because we're entering this thing where like games take longer and longer to make, and they cost more and more money. And at some point something's got to give. There's only so many people buying games. So if your game misses, you might be screwed. This isn't like the 360 gen or early Xbox One where you could turn a game around in 2-3 years and hit it again. And like maybe have some extra money, like because a game back then like, is like 20 million. A game now is over 100 million, approaching 150 million. So
you can if you're under Microsoft, and Microsoft can just absorb all the costs because it's too brand damaging to shut down a studio unless you have absolutely no choice.
I absolutely believe, without a shadow of a doubt, that if Bethesda was independent and they released Redfall, I think Arcane Austin gets shut down. Because they're already teetering on it. They're already teetering because the Arcane games, they don't particularly sell well. There's a reason why they were shopping exclusivity for Deathloop and their other titles, right? And we heard from Imran Khan, who posted when Mikami left Tango, that one of the reasons why he hadn't left earlier was because he felt if he left Tango, that Bethesda would have used his departure as a reason to shut down Tango Gameworks. But after the success of Hi-Fi Rush and stuff, and Microsoft like seeing how important that studio could be for its future, they're not going to shut it down. So he could leave, right? So, but you're entering this era where it's like these games take super long and they cost so much money that if the game doesn't do well, we're gonna have to shut you down. And I mentioned this before on this podcast, and I mentioned it to you. I'm worried about Rocksteady. They've had senior leadership leave. They haven't released a game in 9 years. If this game comes out and bombs because the internet is, hates the game because of the live service stuff, Warner Brothers might just shut them down.
I think so too.
Because what are you going to do? You can't make another game fast enough. That means like, okay, so stop what you're doing and go make a new game that's going to take 5 years? They could shut them down. And I'm worried that we're going to see more and more of this simply because everybody's chasing, the 40-hour experience, the big open worlds. These gamers demand a better looking graphics with ray tracing and all this stuff. So it requires more employees, which require more money. But then you're not really seeing the increase in sales or sales at all, which is why we've seen them raise prices of the games this gen from 60 to 70. We've seen Xbox kind of dual launch on PC so they can get as much revenue as possible, right? I'm just worried that in the next 5 years, you're going to see just a bunch of studio closures happen. I mean, we saw a bunch of studios open because people were leaving publishers and other big studios. And what happens if Dreadwolf is a bomb? What happened? I mean, they already were laying off 50 people at BioWare, right? So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. Are you worried about this?
I am, yeah. I mean, for BioWare and other studios I really like. I think you're right that the era of having a bomb, is something you can absorb is becoming increasingly difficult. But them's the digs, man.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get to some of the questions the wonderful people at Patreon have for us. Somebody tweeted that it's been a while since we've been sloths. It's because Jez is, we're keeping all the stuff we know to ourselves. But yeah, I've been playing a whole bunch of Starfield. I'm at 100 hours. I've also played a little bit of Forza Motorsport, but I can't talk about that. And I'm sure you're just playing Starfield, right, Jez?
Yeah, pretty much. I've been playing a little bit of Armored Core here and there, but mostly just Starfield. I'm also playing a couple of games I can't talk about right now, and also writing about all the games I played at Gamescom, including, I think I can say now, City Skylines 2, which was just incredible. Like
Yeah.
I am like I know not City Skylines not everyone's cup of tea, and it's not a hardcore game by any means, but my God, that game is I like it's a city builder, so you just kind of think like, well, what more couldn't they do? But they proved me wrong. There's a lot more you can do apparently, and City Skylines 2 is absolutely incredible. It's like one of my most anticipated games now. Yeah, I'll be writing about that soon. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah, if you guys enjoyed the show, make sure you hit the like button and please subscribe if you're new. We have Alucard in the Super Chat saying, PlayStation fanboys now trying to say Starfield flopped because they didn't break Fallout 4's record of copies shipped. Of course. Not surprised. But here we go. We got some Patreon questions. We got Logica. I'm sorry if I said your name wrong. I'll just say like Logic. Any advice on Starfield? I just really want to explore, but not started it yet. Any plans to look for Bar Neon? Also, favorite non-gaming one, favorite cheap meal. So you got any early advice on Starfield, Jez?
Early advice on Starfield: embrace the slowness. Take it slow. Get absorbed. Go and visit the museum. You know.
Well, yeah. My advice would be like, do the Vanguard stuff, do the museum, do the Vanguard quest line. Don't skimp on the main story because I think that's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Do the main story up to the point where you get certain tools, and then do side quests and just get immersed and sort of role play your character. Just be like, okay, this is my character and this is what I'm doing. You know, in the field of stars. But yeah, just get immersed if you can. That's like the way the game becomes more fun is when you start immersing yourself in it, I think.
I mean, any planets to look for? Bar Neon? I mean, Paradiso.
Mm.
Kind of cool.
The game is really good at leading you to places.
It
So
is.
like if you do like sometimes there'll be like some random shitty activity. Like for example, if you go to Sidonia on Mars, and you're walking past, a guard will probably say something like, "Oh, there's someone in the residential area that needs some help," and you go and help him, and he's got some like dumb fetch quest. And these quests in games, they call them breadcrumbs quests because they lead you via breadcrumbs to something else, right? And when you do this guy's quest, he's like, "Can you go to this planet and buy this book for me?" And yeah, it's a shitty fetch quest, but the quest leads you to discovering Paradiso, which has a bunch of smaller quests in there, but also like a fairly major side quest, which has some pretty dark choices you can make. So there's like, and it's like, oh, this fetch quest to go and find this book actually led me to getting a whole load of XP, discovering a really cool planet, and doing some like pretty mean things, or some pretty nice things because you can also be nice about it, as I suppose. But yeah, that was really cool. So you never know what the game will throw at you. Just like Todd says, the more you put into it, the more you get out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Favorite non-gaming, favorite cheap meal? Pizza. There's a place around here known as that gives you these like huge slice of pizza, massive, and it's like $7. And
I love I'm on a Subway kick.
You're in a Subway? Okay, that's good.
Tuna wraps, man. Tuna wraps. They're addictive. I don't know what they put in them, like cocaine or something, but they're so addictive.
We have Wolfgang KPZ. Hey, Rand Jez. Jez, I hope you kick that Rona to the curb and feel better. Tokyo Game Show is coming soon, and on the Discord, we've been speculating about what might be announced there. It is now tradition, much like, I can't say this, Esko Boxo Nanfarudusu or Konanichi Minasan, to see some older acclaimed JRPG series or upcoming games coming to the platform during the show. What does the Xbox 2 dynamic duo think the team has in store for us this year? To add some spice, let's not forget rumors of the SMT ports, Square Enix and Xbox's renewed vows, Xbox and Sega ongoing honeymoon. Cheers and thanks for the great shows every week.
We kind of talked about what we expected from TGS earlier, but
I
did
don't know.
forget about the SMT ports. SMT, maybe Secrets of Mana for Miles.
Yeah. Could we see an announcement of Final Fantasy VII Remake? Or is that too early, you think?
I don't know. Maybe it could happen.
Because they did just announce that Final Fantasy 16 is officially entering development on PC.
That's true. That's true. I'd love that, but we'll see. I don't know if Square Enix has got the bandwidth for it, I guess. But we'll see. I think what's more likely is we'll see Pixel remasters probably. Maybe get an update on maybe Game Pass partnerships. Maybe Microsoft cuts a partnership with Konami for something, or Capcom again. Maybe Capcom announces something or gives us another glimpse at that one game that is coming to Game Pass. I can't remember its name. But we'll see. Hopefully some cool shit there. I hope it's a more meaty than it has been in the past, but we'll see.
09 C Mine says, hey guys, what do you think is a realistic date for ABK closing? I know we thought early September, but not sure now. Also, loving the Starfield. Who knows with ABK? You don't know, I don't know, nobody knows. I don't know, who knows? It was supposed to be, this was all supposed to go through smooth, and then it hit the road bumps, and then we all celebrated because they beat the FTC, and then the CMA was like, we got to look at this all again. Now Ubisoft's involved, and now it's like, so it's not going to be the 29th of August. There's some September date. I don't know what day, but then it's like, okay, well, the deal has to be done by the 18th of October because that's when the extended agreement's over. I don't know what the hell's going on. I just expect one day to wake up and them being like, the CMA has approved or blocked, or whatever way they fall. And just being like, the deal's done or the deal's on hold or whatever,
Yeah, I'm just so over it, man.
I mean, we haven't talked about it at length since then, so at least there's that.
I don't know what's going on. I'm just over it, man. Either it happens or it doesn't at this point. And
it'll probably happen when you're on vacation. Watch.
Yeah, maybe.
But then you wouldn't have to deal with it if you were on vacation.
That is true. I wouldn't have to. That is true.
Ryan Cable says, hey, Jez, I hope you're feeling better. Did you guys have a go-to shop area in Starfield? I mean, I went to
knew it. Sorry, go on.
I said I normally went to the Trade Authority to buy some ammo and to sell some stuff. That's about it. It was just really the Trade Authority.
I use New Atlantis mainly, because when I loot everything and then I want to sell it, so I usually go to the UC Surplus shop, which is in the commercial district on New Atlantis. And then when that's run out of money, I go to Trade Authority in the Well. And then when that's run out of money, there's also the UC Surplus shop in the Well as well, which has a bit of money you can use. But always buy more ammo because I go through ammo like crazy. But yeah, usually New Atlantis really. But any sort of Trade Authority place is the actual stores, they're pretty good for it. But New Atlantis has the most vendors in a sort of tight space, I think.
We have Silas saying, good day. Jez, it must feel good knowing it takes at least 4 people to replace you on the show. If BGS decided to expand Starfield by having planet solar systems dedicated to an IP, for example, a Star Wars-based planet or a scalebound solar system. Oh my God, there's scalebound. Which ones would you want, and how would you design it?
Well, I honestly wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want them to compromise the lore they've built up by injecting other universes into the game. I want House of Varun to be more fleshed out. So if they were gonna expand the game.
Could the expansion could be based around them for all we know, right?
Yeah, it could be. I think there's a bunch of factions in the game that I think could be expanded to more cities and more systems and stuff like that. You know, maybe like they could do like a whole expansion around like maybe the Freestar Collective or the UC violates the treaty and they go to war again or something. You know, I think there's a lot of stuff they can do without getting involved, without bringing Star Wars into it or whatever. But I don't know if Rand feels differently.
I don't know. I wouldn't. Starfield. I mean, Star Wars wouldn't feel right in this universe. You know, I'm sure people will. I mean, the modders. They already said the modders can create whole planets. I wouldn't be surprised if some modder creates like Fallout planet or Skyrim planet, right? And I don't know. I mean, could they create a Star Wars universe planet? Maybe they could. I don't know. Like with all the X-wings and Star Destroyers in there, would Disney look at this and be like, this is a problem. We have to, protect our IP? Probably not, because you can just build whatever. I think modders are just going to build what they want to build, whatever, touches their fancy. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was like a Star Wars planet, but it wouldn't be something like official that Bethesda does. It'll just be something people create. Yeah. Governor Grimm, it says, glad to have you back, Jez. Hope you feel well. This question is for both of you. 2023 is stacked year and potentially one of the best years in gaming. Now that we have scores for Starfield and it looks like a game of year is still between Tears of the Kingdom and Baldur's Gate 3, how do you guys anticipate the game of the year will pan out? I'm sure that Forza will be great, but as it's a racing game, it won't be in the running. Who do you think the nominees are? Well,
Nominees?
Haven't played all the games coming out this year, so it's like you can say, okay, Baldur's Gate 3 and Zelda for sure. It's two of the 6. It's kind of tough filling out.
Baldur's Gate 3 is gonna win.
Yeah,
Baldur's Gate 3 is gonna win.
It's tough to fill out the rest because it's like, okay, Diablo 4 at one point I would have said had a chance, but I don't know if it does anymore. Final Fantasy 16 could be nominated. Hogwarts Legacy, possible, because it reviewed well. People really liked it. It's also one of probably the most popular game this year. Resident Evil 4 Remake, I think that's going to get nominated. Sea of Stars is the indie darling, it seems. You still have Spider-Man 2 coming. That, was nominated in 2018. So Alan Wake 2, Control was nominated in 2019. So this seems like maybe could be their magnum opus, so to speak. And who knows what else, right? So Starfield has a lot of competition this year. Could Starfield get in? Absolutely. I mean, I know people point to the review scores of how it's like an 85 now or an 86, but that didn't stop Death Stranding getting nominated at an 82 or Ghost of Tsushima. The way people talk about Ghost of Tsushima on the internet, they make it sound like it's this 9 out of 10 game that everybody loved. But when it first came out, it was like an 81, 82, 83. It had a lot of criticisms. Yeah.
I think Starfield will be nominated. I mean, it has to be. I mean, I think some of the reviews... It doesn't have to be, but I think it will be, just because like it's blown up, it's done really well. Lots of people played it, and then even with all its shortcomings, which I think is reflected in the review, in the Metascore, is the shortcomings. But the things that it tries to do are so impressive and so vast, and I think you kind of have to appreciate that, even if you have given it an 8 out of 10 or whatever. I mean, there was a time where I was even considering giving it an 8 out of 10 when I was reviewing it. And it was like the Crimson Fleet and the UC Vanguard quest and the main quest kind of pulled me out of that a bit. But I think like even at an 8 out of 10, I'm still impressed by the scale and the ambition of the game. But I think Baldur's Gate 3 wins at the end of the day.
I mean, I agree with you. I think Baldur's Gate will win. But I mean, like, it doesn't necessarily mean that Starfield has to get nominated, because there are plenty of games that could take its spot, right? There's only
maybe
what we would say there's only 4 spots. I mean, even if you want to get down to it, I think Resident Evil 4 is a lock, so I think that'll take one of the slots. So that means there's 3 slots taken and 3 games left. And you can make an argument that Sea of Stars will get in. So that would be 4 of the 6. That means there's 2 slots left for Hogwarts, Diablo, Final Fantasy 16, Starfield, Spider-Man, Alan Wake. I don't think it's a guarantee it gets in. I think it's going to be a tough battle. Unless like
I think it's Twitter's going to be fun if it doesn't get in.
Sure. I mean, Twitter, yeah, it definitely will be. Yeah, for sure. I remember how people thought when Forza Horizon 5 didn't get nominated, how upset people were, you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Not Skywalker says, "Hey Jez, sorry to be circling back to Gamescom topic, but I've recently just been so lost in playing Starfield that it slipped my mind. Did you get to relay any feedback to the Xbox execs or people in know regarding an achievement overhaul, like the long requested Platinum achievement? Any hope that they're working on the system, or is it still collecting dust on Phil's off-camera shelf? Rand, have you heard anything on the matter, or been able to express your feelings to the Xbox higher-ups? Cheers, lads. May you be blessed with sweet tunes. The Valentine next time you play Starfield. P.S. Scalebound Planet mod when?"
I'll tell you right now. I did speak to an Xbox exec at Gamescom specifically about the Platinum achievement. They said they want to do it. It's just a matter of priorities and time. So I do think the Xbox Platinum achievement and improvements to the achievement system will come. It's just a case of getting through the other stuff they want to do right now. I think like the fact that they've given us like the OneDrive integration, which we've been asking for a decade, kind of suggests to me that they're working through a backlog of low-hanging fruit that they can potentially implement. And I think like we are probably getting to a point where it's like, okay, we've got to do this Platinum achievement stuff now. So I do think they are going to do it. They've told me they want to do it, and it's just about time and bandwidth. And I think they will do it. When? I don't know, but hopefully soonish.
Yeah. Lazar Wolf says, "Rand answered this Monday, but I'll ask again for you, Jez. Where do you rank Starfield among all Bethesda Game Studio games?"
Oh, well, I haven't played all of them. So, like, I haven't played their classics. I haven't even played Morrowind, really. I played it very, very briefly. So, like, among the ones I've played, I would probably put it as a 3. Fallout 3 is probably my favorite Bethesda game. And then Skyrim is probably my second favorite Bethesda game. And then I'd put Starfield probably above Oblivion. And then I'd put Fallout 4 probably under Oblivion. Of the ones that I played. And then Fallout 76 at the bottom. Even though I still quite liked Fallout 76 and did put quite a lot of hours into it. But I'm a Fallout fanboy at the end of the day. Fallout's my jam. It's one of my favorite franchises. I've got a big Fallout poster, and I've got like a Fallout shrine in my room. And back in England, I've got Pip-Boy, I've got the Pip-Boy construction kit and a bunch of bobbleheads and all that kind of stuff. So I've been a long running fanboy of the Fallout franchise. And Starfield just, it's as good as Starfield is, I still prefer Fallout. So give me Fallout 5, Todd, please.
35 probably. We have Paul saying, "Hey, of the games still to come that are announced for Xbox first party, what game do you believe will have the highest overall open critic score?" All the games announced, huh? Hellblade 2.
I think I was going to say Fable.
I would say Hellblade 2.
Fair enough.
Unless there's like an artsy fartsy project like a Pentiment in the works somewhere, right?
Artsy fartsy.
I mean, that's what, Pentiment was, artsy fartsy. It was like the indie movie that was designed to, speak to a certain segment of reviewers and gamers and get like the indie darling, right? unless there's like something like that on the horizon. You know, Hellblade 2, I think could be.
I think Fable will beat Hellblade. I think Fable's scope.
Are you gonna bet on that?
I think Fable will have a bigger.
You want to
scope.
bet on that now or wait?
You want to bet $10? That I bet you $10 Fable gets a higher meta score than Fable.
Oh, we're betting more than $10 here.
What? No.
We're betting 50.
$50?
$50. That's what I'm saying. Do we even need to bet now? We can just wait. We haven't even seen Fable gameplay or really Hellblade combat, so
No, because that'll we've seen about as much as
I'm willing to take a $50 bet on this.
We've seen as much of Hellblade as we've seen of Fable, basically.
I'm willing to take a $50 bet. $50 bet.
Okay.
1 week after the game comes out, the reviews, whichever PC or Xbox, whichever has the most reviews.
I bet you $50 that Fable gets a higher open critic score than Hellblade.
I bet you $50 that Hellblade 2 gets a higher open critic. Are we doing open critic? Okay, we'll do open critic.
We'll do open critic.
All right,
we'll do open critic.
$50. Hellblade versus Fable.
Okay.
Sounds good. Achievement. Hey, we won't have to. The thing about this is that we won't have to pay up until probably end of 2025, right?
Yeah, something like that.
2 years away.
Yeah, so you guys in the chat will have to remind us about this bet.
Achievement says,
let's move on.
Is the Xbox tax really a conspiracy when we see outlets like MSNBC asking, will this always be an Xbox exclusive? Or news outlets point blank saying stuff like, why didn't you optimize your game for PC? PlayStation would never get these types of questions from any outlet.
Yeah, I think this comes back to the common sense idea of what Xbox is and what it represents. I don't think it's a conspiracy necessarily. I think it's just this idea that Xbox is on the back foot and that Xbox is bad and a challenger, and PlayStation is just like the de facto gaming platform that enjoys a privileged position in the mindset of everyone, basically. So it's like, if it's a conspiracy, it's like an unconscious one, I think. But I could be wrong. Maybe everyone's shorting Microsoft stock or something. I don't know. Not that Xbox affects Microsoft stock price, really. Xbox could disappear off the face of the planet, and I don't think it would affect Microsoft's share price.
Yeah, I don't know. MSNBC,
differently.
They probably just aren't really in tune with what's really going on. So
they probably defer to what's the popular opinion.
So, like, I'm not surprised they asked them about, like, oh, will this always be an exclusive and not come to PlayStation?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not surprised you get that sort of stuff from those outlets, because those outlets, they don't know video games. You know what I mean? So I'm not necessarily surprised. I mean, people talk about the Xbox tax as in, like, did Starfield get the Xbox tax? Like, how would Starfield review if it was multi-platform? Would it be where it is right now, or would it be higher? Would suddenly people not be tired of Bethesda's games? I don't know. And we'd have to go to a universe to find out what happened. We can't do an A/B test here. I'm sure there's probably a couple outlets that maybe rated it lower because it was an Xbox exclusive, but I don't think it's like overall sort of thing. Raj said David Jaffe just called Starfield his favorite single-player game of all time after completing the single-player campaign. I find him a very interesting person to listen to in general. Would you consider inviting him to one of the Xbox 2+1 episodes, especially when you're planning on discussing Starfield spoilers? Yes, Jaffe is definitely somebody we're going to have on in the future, for sure.
Yeah. He seems like a good guy. Like, I've spoke to him about collaborating a bunch of times, so we'll make that happen.
Tricks are for Trey says, Jez, you're not dead yet. Hope you both are doing well after Starfield's launch. How confident are you guys about the quality of Xbox's games moving forward?
I'm very confident. I think Redfall was a big wake up call for them. That they can't let this happen again. It sucked all the momentum out of the room when Redfall dropped. They can't let that happen again. Like, they can have smaller games that are still of a high quality but don't really hit the breadth.
Like
of
Minecraft Legends.
Game. Minecraft Legends. Like Minecraft Legends, it was.
Not a success.
Not my kind of game. It was not a success, but they tried to do something very, very different, you know. So like, at least the game wasn't broken or anything. It just wasn't that interesting.
It was just a game that nobody wanted.
It was a game that nobody wanted, really. Yeah. So like Minecraft Legends is whatever, but like Redfall was just not good. It was just like Redfall did what so many other games tried to do before it, but worse. It was like a Far Cry or a Borderlands, just not as good. And it kind of made you like wonder, like, why does this game exist? What is this unique point of this game? You know, they said it would be immersive sim, and it had no immersive sim elements really. I think like there was like one point I was playing the game where I felt like, oh, this almost feels like an arcade game. But anyway, I don't know. I think the quality will be better, but again, just have to wait and see. The proof's always in the pudding.
Indeed. Let's see. We have Kraken saying, "Hey guys, Jez talked about on Twitter, Bethesda knowing their engine still needs work, and Xbox can help with that. That is exciting because I feel Xbox did help with polish and giving more time on Starfield. They were officially acquired in March of 2021, meaning it was only 2 years of Xbox support. I can't fathom what the next Elder Scrolls will be like if Xbox is fully backing it from the start. Do you think Xbox will help a lot with some of BGS's shortcomings?"
I think like what being part of Microsoft will do will probably give them, you know, the financial parachute they need to really push themselves. I think Starfield is still in parts a product of ZeniMax's difficult years, where they were just like, oh shit, we need to make service games now because that's what publishers do. And they kind of, you know, they rushed into Fallout 76 and Wolfenstein Youngblood, and they were trying to figure out what their identity was as a publisher. And I think like now that they've got the backing of Microsoft, they can have a little bit more breathing space to really push their tech and maybe hopefully just make absolutely staggeringly great games that you can only really make those kind of risks on if you're underneath a big company like Microsoft. So I think like having the breathing room and the sort of the backing of Microsoft, both in terms of time and investment, will hopefully lead to more impressive products, you know. And they've spoken about AI, which I think, you know, I think generative AI has a role to play in making these hyper massive games or hyper scale games or whatever you want to call them. And we'll see what happens with regards to that. But yeah, did he have another question as well?
Yeah, because he said Phil said they will have multiple shows because they have a lot to show, which is true. At E3 time next year, it will have been 4 years since Coalition's main team showed anything, 4 years since the Indiana Jones announcement, 4 years since Perfect Dark, 4 years since State of Decay 3, 3 years since Contraband, 4 years since Doom, 4 years since Everwild, and all the other projects they showed last E3. Do you think they will have 2 showcases plus the developer direct? If not, how would you handle potentially showing so many big games?
I think they'll probably show a lot of the Game Awards this year. Maybe
so?
like they'll have 2. I think so, yeah. I think maybe they'll have 2 trailers this year, the Game Awards or
even
something.
if they have a developer direct or, you know, soon after, like this past year, would you?
Yeah, I think like what I could see them doing is like showing a couple of trailers for games that make sense at the Game Awards. Do a developer direct for a game that's sort of a closer, maybe like a Hellblade or something. And then like do just a big blowout E3 show, you know. I think they proved this year that you can do a longer E3 show and get away with it. They did like if you count like both, because they did the Xbox showcase and then the Starfield developer direct back to back, and people watched the whole fucking thing. So they proved that people will sit there and watch if there's you know, the quality of content there. So I think they could do both. They could do like little shows here and there. They could do a developer direct for something that's, you know, closer to being ready, Or they could just do a massive blowout show around E3 or Summer Game Fest or whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's also not like talking about if they own ABK by then, right?
Yeah,
And no,
maybe it
whatever.
will always be a separate thing.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying they could show some stuff. I would imagine if they own ABK, they're probably going to want to show Call of Duty at their stuff to really tie together Call of Duty and Xbox, yes? You know, because usually the last few years, Call of Duty is revealed in late August, and it's revealed by itself, when before it used to be at either PlayStation show or Xbox show, depending on who had marketing. Well, now that if you owned it, I don't know, would you want to tie it together? Like, hey, Call of Duty's on Xbox. We own it now. Boom. Like, it's at our showcase. You know what I mean? Instead of having it be separate. Or maybe they let it be separate. I don't know. But, I mean, yeah, that's the thing we're talking about, right? Like, you mentioned it. Coalition's been a long time. Indiana Jones, next year would be 4 years since the announcement. Well, actually, no, it'd be 3 years. Right? Coalition had in 2019, so next year would be 5. Next year would be 5 years? Yeah, no. Next year's 2024, so it'd be 3 for Indiana Jones. It'd be 5 for Gears. Perfect Dark was revealed in 2020, so next year would be 4. State of Decay was revealed in 2020, so it'd be 4. Contraband 2021, so it'd be 3. Doom, that came out in 2020, so next year it'd be 4 years. Like, there's a lot of games that Microsoft's announced in 2020 that aren't out yet, and that we haven't seen any updates on, plus some of the Bethesda stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I think we'll see a lot next year. You know, I think we will.
I agree.
Omen says, "Hi, Jez and Rand. The Starfield mods are finally starting to come in. However, unfortunately, similar to Skyrim and Fallout 4, a lot of the PC mods will not be able to support the PC Game Pass versions due to the Windows Store having more stringent security policies on their applications, which causes Starfield script extender to not work. Do you know if Microsoft has any plans to help rectify this issue?"
I think, like, when they release Creation Kit, it will solve some of this stuff. Because Creation Kit 2 or whatever they call it is like, or wherever it's called, I might be using the wrong name, but when they release the official modding platform, I think it will solve some of the issues there. Because I think the way the mods are working right now is not like, you know, they're injectors or whatever, which the Microsoft Store doesn't like or whatever. So we'll see what happens there. I don't know if they've got plans to support like the regular Nexus mods or whatever that the Steam version supports, but them's the ropes with UWP games or whatever. It's that's just the way it is. I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna liberate those policies or anything, but it's something I could try and reach out and find out more about.
Yeah. Jay Foley says, with Starfield being the biggest game for September, I want to ask you guys, what's the biggest game for October, November, and December? I mean, we don't know what's out in December, so that's tough to say. November is going to be Call of Duty, clearly, because it always is.
October's going to be City Skylines.
Well, no, I mean,
baby.
if you're talking in general, October is going to be Spider-Man 2.
No,
right?
It's going to be Seas.
No, it's going to be Spider-Man 2.
City Skyline's going to be bigger than Spider-Man.
Absolutely not. It won't be. You know
absolutely,
it won't be. Spider-Man 2 is going to be the biggest.
on everything.
Spider-Man 2 is going to be bigger than everything in October. Come on now.
No way.
If you're talking about like Xbox, I mean, Assassin's Creed's always big. Forza Motorsport, I mean, it hasn't been a motorsport game since 2017. Alan Wake 2, I'm not sure how big Alan Wake 2 is because like Alan Wake was an exclusive and it's been a long time, although people really enjoyed Control, but I mean, it's Spider-Man 2. So Spider-Man 2, Call of Duty, and then I don't even know what's out in December. Lee Sanders, hey Rand and Jez, hope you're feeling better, bud. Well, we can say that Starfield is a success already, so with it being announced, or with it being around for most likely the next 10 years, in a similar vein to Rare and how they do their licensed DLC, easy pickings are Star Wars, Dune, Red Dwarf, etc. So what would you love to see as a licensed DLC for Starfield? That's a very similar question to one we kind of had before. Well,
Yeah,
I guess
true.
yeah. It was like,
I
do
mean,
you?
if we're doing like, I mean, instead of doing like a whole solar system, like if it's just something like the sort of parts to make a ship inspired by stuff in the game, I could see that. Like people are already making like Millennium Falcons and stuff using the parts in the game, but there are like there are ship there are ship parts there are ships that you can't really make without more stuff. Like if you wanted to make Red Dwarf, for example, you need some kind of like hexagonal framework to make that work because a lot of the ship parts in the game that exist right now are quite flat. Um, so I think like I'd love to see them add the parts to build more ships, and I think like they could do licensed DLC for that. Like just be like we've included the in the Dune DLC, we've included the bits that let you make some of the ships from Dune, or we've included the bits to let you make the ship from Red Dwarf or whatever and stuff like that. I can see that, you know, working without necessarily violating the lore of the game or whatever. Because at the end of the day, like those ships were functional for our world too, in a way. I don't know. I don't know if Rand feels differently though. I'd love to see a Red Dwarf DLC.
I mean, I don't know anything about Red Dwarf. I mean, I wouldn't be against the idea of like
You should watch Red Dwarf.
licensed worlds or whatever if that's something they wanted to do. I just don't know if that's something they are going to do, right? I mean, but again, like Sea of Thieves has the little thing with Lucasfilm where they, you know, hey, we did Pirates of the Caribbean and we did Monkey Island, and we know that you know Lucasfilm has been very they'll license out a whole bunch of stuff, right? They got a new Star Wars game coming from Ubisoft, Star Wars game at EA with Jedi Survivor and stuff. So I would imagine if, you know, Bethesda already has that relationship, right? Because they went to Lucasfilm and had the thing for Indiana Jones. So I would imagine if they really wanted to, and it was something they wanted to do, maybe they could get a licensed Star Wars planet in Starfield, you know, or those relationships already exist. So I would imagine if it's something they felt like they wanted to do, they would do it, right? There'd be no barriers against it. This isn't like how EA was the only one who could do Star Wars stuff for that X amount of time. It's like, no, they're really collaborating with a lot of different publishers and developers. So I mean, I guess it's a possibility, and it's like it's an easy one because it's space. You know, you can imagine
It'd
like
be really popular, man.
it would be really popular. You could build a custom planet with maybe, you know, some custom buildings that resemble the Star Wars thing. You know, have like an actual X-wing or Star Destroyer, have some battles and stuff. You know, you could see it. You know, I could see it.
I think it's like you're given the tools to players to make that stuff, and you know, you could make like ships that look like an X-wing that still fit the aesthetic of Starfield, I think. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
You could add force powers because they're kind of already in the game.
Yeah.
You know,
maybe they'll just leave it up to modders to do that stuff.
maybe.
And then they'll get sued by Disney.
Achievement says, if IGN gives Spider-Man 2 a 7, will it vindicate Starfield?
No, that's not gonna happen.
I mean,
We know that's not.
Starfield doesn't need to be vindicated, so.
But we know Spider-Man 2 is at least a 9 from IGN.
Oh yeah, your typical, you know, yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I guess also would have to be the same person who reviewed Starfield to review Spider-Man 2, but yeah. You know, I don't need to see Spider-Man IGN's review to know that Spider-Man 2 is either going to be a 9 or a 10. I don't even need to see any more of that game. Most outlets will just give it that based on whatever, you know. Although, to be fair, Jez, you did expect the Metacritic for Starfield to be lower than it currently is.
Didn't I say low 80s?
You said low 80s.
No, it's 85. That's low 80s.
Well, yeah. Well, no, that's mid 80s.
Yeah, but if it'll go to 84, then it's low 80s.
Well, even still, like you said low 80s, I was thinking 80, 81, 82, 83 is like low 80s. 84, 85, 86 is mid, and then 7, 8, 9 is high.
I was thinking it'd be like somewhere between 82 and 85.
See, I was expecting like an 82, 83. So it's still a little bit higher than I thought. But yeah.
And that's just based on like me playing the game and then thinking how others are going to react to it.
Essentially. We have good old Collingwood saying, "Hello, Rand Jez. I just upped my Patreon so I can join in the Patreon Q&A fun." Rand, you might remember my question I posed to you on the Xbox Era podcast, asking what you were looking forward to about Starfield as a science fiction story as opposed to a game. Now you have put many hours into it. How do you feel about the story now? Well, the story is like my favorite part of the game, really. I love the story. I don't. Jez can tell you how often I was badgering him to complete the main story, like every day.
It was.
Yeah, it exceeded my expectations as a science fiction story. Even though like, you can make the argument like, oh, they're just like old sci-fi tropes or whatever, and to be fair, they are. I don't know. I thought the way it was executed was fantastic, and the way I don't want to really say any more, but like.
You can't say much without spoiling. But the story is fantastic.
Yeah, it just really exceeded what I thought. Because normally the stories are they're just throwaway. It's everything else in the game that people love. And for this one, while the Vanguard story was fantastic, and the Crimson Fleet stuff, as Jez says, is probably for him the best thing in the game, and all the other quest lines are
backstory, man. I love the backstory, the colony wars and stuff like that. Like they're doing a really great job at it.
Yeah, I mean, like I was so just that main story just had me gripped by the balls, and I was just like, I need to keep on doing this, man. Like, it's what I wanted out of a science fiction story. They did right. That's why the setting is like so cool, because you can do so much more than you can in post-apocalyptic and medieval fantasy. Even though I like reading my medieval fantasy stories, like I'm not playing a game, like the author is telling me something and I'm along for the ride. And this I'm playing it so it's different. Like I feel like guns are much better than shields and axes and spells, right? Like it feels better to play, and you can just do so much more cooler things with sci-fi in a game than you can with fantasy. It's just a fact. At least for me, it's a fact. So no, they did some awesome stuff in this. Saucy Mod says Starfield is a really good game. I've only played about 5 hours, but it feels like a Bethesda game. That being said, Gears 5 has been taking me away. The whole time playing Starfield, I've wanted to play Gears. Do you guys think we'll see any Gears news next year? Yes, I think we will.
Yes. Next year we'll see Gears news.
I think we'll,
and Gears will finally solidify its place as the best franchise Xbox has.
In your dreams.
I suppose it's Starfield now, isn't it?
Well,
Starfield, the new mascot for Xbox.
Starfield and Forza Horizon, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tyler says,
I just want to quickly segue to something.
Okay.
Speaking of mascots, did you see the awful Lara Croft skin they're putting in Call of Duty?
People said it was beautiful though. It was like the best she's ever looked in a game.
Are you serious?
That's what I've seen people say, or at least
they bolted her skin onto some random soldier's model, and the arms are all messed up, and it looked terrible to me.
Are you playing Call of Duty right now? Is this why this popped up in your head or something?
No, I just saw it flash up on my timeline again. But I saw it the other day. It looked terrible. The animations, like maybe the skin itself looks alright, but the rigging is all wrong and messed up. I don't know.
We got Tyler saying, what traits and backgrounds did each of you choose for your character in Starfield? Do you have any regrets on the traits you picked or feel like you missed out on ones you didn't? I picked the kid one because visiting your parents is cool. And they look like you. They actually kind of they look like your dad looks like an older version of you, you know?
Yeah.
Which is super cool. I also picked Wanted. So I had some mercenaries always try to stop me in space, and I've
got Wanted.
Extra XP and stuff and loot. And I forget what I think the other one was like UC native. I think I should have picked maybe like something to do with O2, like maybe extrovert or introvert. But those are the ones I picked.
I picked Wanted. Wanted's really useful because it gives you some dialogue bypass options sometimes.
It does, yeah.
I also picked Freestar Collective because secretly I wish I was a cowboy.
Okay.
And also I picked Space Scoundrel,
Ooh.
which also has some cool dialogue stuff sometimes.
Space Scoundrel. Okay.
Yeah, Scoundrel.
All right. We got some super chats here. Stay High FFF says, my friend bought a PS5 for Starfield and not knowing it was an exclusive. Boy, was he disappointed. Could you imagine? I did see the lead Bethesda PR guy say that some outlets unironically requested PlayStation 5 versions for review, Jez. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny. Darkwing says, with 360 store closing next year, any ideas if and when the 360 servers in general might shut down? With them owning COD, I don't think we'll see them shut down the 360 servers for a bit, right? There's a lot of people playing the old CODs on there, and that's kind of
360 servers like also being used for backwards compatibility. So I don't think they'll shut them down anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Spartan 661. It'd be nice to see a Master Chief Spartan armor space suit with shields, and all from the modders. Some of the Halo weapons would be awesome to use. Well, there you go. Crossover, Jez. Halo Planet and Starfield. Made by 343.
Don't ruin
Gears
Starfield,
Planet, Sarah in Starfield. Made by the Coalition. Psychonauts Planet. Made by Double Fine. You could have a whole big collaborations for all the Xbox studios. All making individual planets in Starfield. Or even like the Bethesda studios. Doom Planet. Made by id, you know?
I don't know, man.
I mean, you could. I'm just saying. Alucard says, having a lot of fun with Starfield. My only negative quirks for the game is the horrible facial animations that Bethesda has had since the Morrowind days. And the frame rate stutters in certain areas. The frame rate does drop in some areas, but...
Neon is pretty... dicey.
I don't know. The horrible facial animation, like, I don't necessarily agree with that. Like, I thought they looked pretty good when you were talking to somebody and, like, zoomed in on the conversation. And the fact that...
Come on.
I mean, it's not mocap, but I thought it was fine.
They're good for what they are, but it's like the characters are so unexpressive and stiff. And I think, like, especially when you're coming in from Baldur's Gate 3, it is jarring. And I think it undermines the writing, you know. I do think that's one area they need to consider investing more in. Or at least, like, I think it was better in Fallout 4 where it was zoomed out a little bit more. Because they changed it slightly for Fallout 4 where it was zoomed out a little bit more. But it's not a huge deal and you do adjust to it, but man, coming in from Baldur's Gate 3, it was jarring.
Right. No, yeah. I mean...
the ambient NPCs look horrible. Like, the NPCs that you don't talk to, like the random citizens, and like their eyes, like, bug out of their skulls. They look horrific. That's one thing.
I didn't see any of that in my playthrough. I didn't see any of the bug eye stuff in my playthrough at all.
I saw it plenty.
When?
You weren't looking for it, man.
No, I was looking for it. I never saw, like, where, when? I didn't see any of it.
All the time, bro.
Where?
Everywhere.
What city? New Atlantis? When am I supposed to grab my microscope to see their eyes? Like,
dude, you don't need to. Just walk around a bit.
I did. I walk around all that game all the time. I never noticed people I would have noticed the pedestrians and NPCs with bug eyes. Trust me, I would have seen that. Colt didn't see it. No, Cognito hasn't. I never saw it. Period.
Driving me crazy, man. Crazy.
I mean, I think you're just making that up. Pictures, pictures, or it didn't happen, bro. Where's your pictures?
I've got a bunch of screenshots.
Dude, you never mentioned that in any of the things we were talking about in Starfield. You never mentioned once about the bug-eyed NPCs. I think you're fake news right now.
Nope.
I think you're fake news. Someone says in chat every time I check in, Jez is bitching. Jez is not bitching about anything. Yeah, Jack says, I saw a lot of bug eyes. I mean, I guess maybe I'm blind. I didn't see any bug eyes.
I saw plenty.
Okay. Well, let me see
repro it really easily as well.
Let me see some of those picks, bro. But anyways, I think we come to the end of the show. That's all the Patreon questions. Thank you guys for supporting us. Xbox 2, patreon.com/XB2. We're gonna have Mr. Matty Plays on. I'm gonna see if he's available Tuesday. If not, maybe we do an Ultimate on Tuesday. I don't know. We'll definitely have
figure it out.
Ultimate and Mr. Matty Plays this month. And then we'll try to, to get 2 guests a month for Xbox 2 plus 1 moving forward. So thank you guys so much for being here with us. Love you all. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. Use the code XB2 if you want to make some purchases at Manscaped. Valari, GG, code XB2 as well. So Raycon, code XB2, I believe it is. So we will be back on Friday next week, unless, of course, something breaking happens that demands we have a special podcast or whatever. You never know. ABK might close or CMA might pass it, which might require that. But either way, thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you guys have a great rest of the weekend. Enjoy your time in Starfield. And see you next week. Keep it gaming, guys.
Take care, everybody.
Later.
Rock and roll, baby.